Hello everyone, welcome to Dead Time Stories. I know many of you enjoy listening to these videos as you fall asleep. So before you drift off, I'd love for you to leave a comment letting me know where in the world you're tuning in from. And if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, now let's get comfortable, relax, and dive into tonight's story. The first time Maya heard footsteps on the roof of Building H, she told herself it was just the old HVAC waking up for the evening classes. A noise like shoes pacing, halting, then dragging, threaded through the fluorescent hum of her office. She paused with the stapler in her hand and listened, holding her breath until the air felt thin. "Please don't be raccoons," she muttered, and went back to collating invoices. It was almost 7. The hallway lights had clicked into their dim setting, printing long, gray blades across the vinyl floor. Through her window, the campus parking lot lay in sheets of heat mirage despite the lowering sun. Building H procurement and facilities always kept light late. Emergencies don't wait for morning. Her boss liked to say, tonight it was the usual end-of-month knot, expired certificates of insurance, a pest control bid with contradictory language, 2 delivery disputes, and a stack of unclaimed keys in plastic evidence bags. Maya nudged the baggies aside to make room for her dinner, a plastic clamshell with a sad salad, and caught the label on the topmost tag, Master H, Alpha. She frowned. A master key didn't disappear quietly. She picked up the baggie and held it to the light. The brass had a scar near the bow and a dark sheen that wasn't oil. The tag's handwriting was careful block letters, the kind you copy from a form. "Who turned you in?" she asked the key like it might answer. "Talking to inventory again," called Denise from the doorway. Denise did campus police admin 2 doors down and always left exactly at 7. Lipstick perfect, even after 10 hours. Maya smiled. "It's listening practice. Don't let it talk you into overtime." Denise's eyes flicked to the ceiling. "You hear that?" Footsteps. "Uh-huh. 2 nights now," Denise said. "Maintenance says it's thermal expansion. The building is expanding in sneakers. Apparently." Maya laughed, because the alternative was admitting the noise made her skin prickle. "You heading out?" "Like a law-abiding pumpkin. You need an escort later." "Text me. Morales is on patrol in Lot D until 8. Denise tapped her phone. "You still working the tunnel audit?" "Tomorrow," Maya said. "I'm pulling the old contractor logs tonight." Tunnel audit sounded grander than it was. Saguaro Valley College had been built in the 70s on a concrete spine of utility tunnels, steam, chilled water, and miles of cable running beneath the quadrangles. Students boasted about secret passages. Maintenance joked about minotaurs. What Maya had were spreadsheets, who accessed which hatch when, and with what key. 2 small thefts on opposite corners of campus weren't a pattern until you noticed the same vendor badge ping before both events. Then her boss said, "Just check the tunnels as part of the renewal," and handed her a file that smelled faintly of a storage unit. The footsteps came again 3 quick. 1 slow. Denise made a face. "Text me," she said, and left. Silence settled, followed by the whisper of air through ductwork. Maya pulled the contractor logs from the file box. Old paper rasped under her fingers. The top sheet was a sign-in ledger from 5 years ago. Edges sun-brittle. Signatures stacked like small acts of bravado. 1 name appeared often. Block letters without flourish. Torrin Wells. Company name. Basin Trades. Badge. 9-1117. Keys issued. M. H. Alpha. Temp. Returned. Checkmark. She set the ledger beside the bagged key. Same careful handwriting. Maya opened her email. She typed a note to herself. Audit Basin Trades Access who cleared badge 9 1117. Then she leaned back and listened. The ceiling was quiet again. Somewhere. A chair creaked, as if someone sat down gently on the roof. Testing their weight. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Is the key back where it belongs? Maya's throat went tight. She reread the message twice. Then scanned the room for a joke. Denise, across the hall. A co-worker with bad timing. The hall was empty. The motion sensor light at the end had switched off. She typed, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. It opens what no one should open. Put it back. Maya. She stood. The chair wheels squealing. No one outside. The hallway air felt suddenly colder. As if the AC had kicked a vent directly at her spine. She glanced at the bagged key and, without meaning to, slid it into the top drawer. She didn't lock the drawer. She told herself it was because locking it would be dramatic. Okay, she said to the empty room. Enough. She shut down her computer, gathered her bag, and turned off her office light. The after image of her desk stayed printed on her vision. As she stepped into the hallway, the building made a sound that wasn't ducts or expansion, more like a weight shifting directly above her. A cautious pivot of a body that didn't want to be heard. Maya locked the office door and started toward the exit, counting the steps out of habit. At the corner, she stopped. The ceiling tile above the janitor's closet was a different color, watermarked, and bowed just enough to notice now that she was looking. A scuff ran along one edge like a shoe had brushed it from the other side. She took 1 step back. 2. The phone buzzed again. Don't go into the hall camera's blind spot. Her mouth went dry. The blind spot was a short stretch by the emergency stairwell where the camera had been out for weeks, waiting on a part. She looked up at the small black dome of the functioning cam by the main doors. She looked down the other way at the dim stretch by the stairwell. There was a soft click behind the janitor's closet door, as if something inside had unlatched. There was a soft click behind the janitor's closet door, as if something inside had unlatched. Maya's hand moved toward the main exit almost on its own. She stepped beneath the camera dome, felt the small bubble of safety it represented, and kept her eyes on the closet. The metal lever handle trembled, settled, then inched downward until the latch tongue eased back with a papery squeal. Her phone buzzed again. Stay under the camera. Don't run. She swallowed, thumbed Denise's contact, and hit call. It rang once. Tell me you're already outside, Denise said. The janitor's closet just opened, Maya whispered. A small gap appeared. Something pale slid out and thumped onto the floor. Maya flinched, then blinked. A mop head, blue cotton strings splayed like a jellyfish. Cut from its handle, the door hung ajar a few inches. Black draft breathing through the crack. Hold where you are, Denise said. I'm turning around. I'll ping Morales. Don't go blind spot, Maya said. What? Just use the main doors. The blind spot by the stairs is bad. She didn't say why. Didn't say how she knew. A beat. Copy, Denise said. Voice tight. Keep me on the line. Maya put the phone to her shoulder and, with the other hand, fished her mini flashlight from her bag. It wasn't bravery. It was the irritating administrative need to document. She angled the beam into the closet seam. The smell that came out wasn't bleach. It was warm dust and something faintly ferrous. Like an old toolbox. Morales is 2 minutes, Denise said in her ear. Don't open that door. It opened itself, Maya said, and edged closer anyway, staying in the cone of the camera. She pushed the door with the toe of her shoe. It swung inward without resistance. Shelves lined one wall with toilet paper and brown paper towels, neatly spined. A yellow wet floor sign lounged sideways. Above, a square of ceiling tile had been nudged aside. An aluminum attic ladder hung down 2 steps. Its spring hinged the likely source of the click. Black scuffs marked the ladder's rungs. White insulation dust stippled the floor below like pollen. Through the gap in the ceiling, she saw darkness, and then, when she moved the light, a flat plane of duct, and there another scuff. The angle was wrong for someone accessing the roof. This wasn't a roof hatch. It was a plenum crawl that ran above the hallway toward the mechanical room. "Maya," Denise said, "report. Ceiling access, ladder down. Someone's been up there." Maya shifted the light and froze. A zip tie dangled from the ladder's upper rung, cut in a clean V. At its end, a sliver of plastic tag remained with printed text weathered to ghost gray. She squinted, brought the light closer without crossing the threshold. "AMH," she read aloud, "Alpha." Her scalp prickled. "Back up," Denise said. "Now." A shadow passed across the narrow gap above. Not a shape she could name so much as a blot that occluded lines. The ladder creaked once. Maya stepped backward to stay under the camera. And the closet door, pushed by a soft exhale of air or by nothing at all, began to close. From the hallway, down by the blind spot, something tapped, 2 quick. 1 slow, a repetition of the rhythm she'd heard overhead, translated to tile and drywall. Maya, the voice wasn't Denise's. Not in her ear. It came from the hall, low and conversational, as if someone stood around the corner. Male, calm, "Don't stand there." Her pulse leapt into her throat. "Who's there?" she called. Voice thinner than she meant. "Camera's not your friend," the voice said. "It sees you. It doesn't see me," Denise said. "Morales is at the front. You'll hear him." Footsteps approached from outside, keys at the glass. The rattle of the crash bar. Relief bubbled hard enough to sting, but the tap-tap drag came again from the blind spot. Closer now, almost where the dead camera bubble would begin. Maya lifted the flashlight like a talisman. "If you work here, identify yourself." Silence. Then the phone chimed with a new text from the same number, no name. Just a string. "Step right. Now." She moved without qualifying the impulse. At that precise second, something thin and gray flicked out from near the corner of the sudden. Whip-like flecks of a cable or strap snapping through the air where her knees had been. It hit the tile with a clap and recoiled into shadow. The front doors banged open. "Campus police," Morales' voice preceded him, followed by Denise's silhouette. The closet door finished its slow swing and latched with a tidy click. "Hands where I can see them." Morales aimed his light toward the blind spot. The beam caught a strip of reflective tape. A length of nylon ratchet strap lying across the floor like a shed skin. No one stood there. Denise hurried to Maya, eyes cutting from Maya's face to the closet to the ceiling. "You okay?" "I think so," Maya said. But her knees threatened to liquefy with delayed adrenaline. She told them what she'd seen. Ladder. Tag. Movement. The strap snapping like a snare. Morales crouched, studied the strap, anchored to the handrail. He said, pointing to a scuff where a metal hook had gnashed paint. "Somebody set a trip. Crude. But if you were running..." His beam tracked to the ceiling tile above the blind spot. It looked ordinary. "You sure there's someone up there?" "Positive," Maya said, and hated how sure she sounded. Morales eased the closet door open with his foot and examined the ladder. He listened. Head cocked, then flicked his light into the crawl space. "I don't see," he began, and stopped. "Hold on." He reached up with gloved fingers and retrieved something from the lip of the opening. He put it on a paper towel Denise handed him. A key tag. The plastic had been cut in half, only the tail remained. The tiny pen strokes block letters were still legible on the sliver. H Alpha. Denise's eyes met Maya's over the paper towel. "What the hell?" she whispered. Maya's phone vibrated one last time. "It isn't maintenance. Don't let them take the key." The three of them stood in the sterile glow of the hallway. The words on Maya's phone searing her thoughts like a burn. Morales muttered, "Not maintenance." "Huh. Then who's setting snares in my building?" He bagged the strap and the tag fragment with crisp efficiency, though his jaw flexed tight. "We'll sweep the crawl space. But I'll need backup." "I'll file a report," Denise said. Her lipstick seemed sharper in the harsh light. Her face drawn but steady. "And security'll tape the closet shut tonight. Nobody touches it until facilities clears." Maya wanted to agree, to nod and walk outside under the sodium lamps, breathe in parking lot heat, and put her back against her car. But she heard again the scrape of movement above the tiles, saw the careful handwriting that matched the ledger 5 years old. She thought of the key in her desk drawer, heavy with meaning she didn't understand. "I'm not leaving it here," she said quietly. Denise turned. "Leaving what?" "The key. Whoever's up there, they know it's back. If it stays in the office, they'll find a way in." "You don't know that." Maya shook her head. "No." "I do. It's like it calls them." The words sounded ridiculous, like a campfire story. Yet silence fell. Morales zipped the evidence bag. Lips pressed thin. "Keys aren't supposed to vanish from inventory," he said. "If someone's hunting this one better, it stays on us than in a desk." "You want protective custody for a key now?" Denise said. Her voice was brittle, not dismissive, like she needed the joke to balance the fear. "I'll log it," Morales said. "Chain of custody. I'll drop it in the armory until we get answers." Maya didn't argue. She led them back to her office. The halls were too quiet. Each step sounded like it traveled 2 beats farther than it should. Echoing off places the walls didn't reveal. She unlocked her door, flicked on the light. The drawer squealed as it slid open. The baggie was gone. Her stomach turned cold. No. She pulled the drawer completely out, scattering pens and old post-its onto the carpet. Empty. The folder stack had shifted sideways as if something had been shoved in, but the baggie gone. "You locked this room?" Morales asked sharply. "Yes," Maya said. "I locked it when I left." Denise crouched and scanned the floor. Nothing. She checked the window latch, still locked. "Nobody forced the door. I watched you lock it." Maya pressed her hands flat to the desk as if anchoring herself. Then it walked out. "Don't," Denise said, though her voice trembled. Her phone buzzed. All 3 of them leaned toward it. "It doesn't need doors. Stop looking." Maya's throat closed. She forced breath through. "It knows we're in here right now." Morales swore. Pulled his radio. "Unit 3 requesting immediate sweep of Building H. Possible intruder remains inside. Unknown number." He looked at Maya. "You're leaving. Now, I'll walk you out." They moved fast this time. Denise flanking. Morales ahead. The air pressed heavier with every step, like the whole structure was holding its breath. They reached the lobby doors without incident. Morales scanned the lot, then waved them through. Outside, the night clung damp and electric. The heat hadn't broken, but the dark carried weight like a storm was on its way. Maya inhaled deeply, the smell of hot asphalt grounding her. Denise touched her arm. "You're coming home with me tonight. I'm not letting you sit in that apartment alone. Not after—" The thump cut her off. From the roof above Building H, like a bag of sand dropped from a short height. Then, a dragging shuffle along the parapet, pacing in that same uneven rhythm. 3 quick, 1 slow. Maya craned upward, a figure outlined against the sky. Just for a second, backlit by the amber glow of the nearest lamp. Too tall. Arms wrong, one hanging longer. Or maybe bent, head cocked too far to the side. Then it melted backward into darkness. Gone. Morales' hand hovered near his holster. "Get in the car," he said. Maya didn't argue. Denise's guest room smelled faintly of lavender detergent and old wood, a comforter tucked crisp, a lamp with a warm shade. It should have felt safe. Maya curled on the edge of the bed. Phone on the nightstand, waiting for another vibration. Sleep didn't come. When she did drift, images cut in, a brass key lying on wet concrete, block letters scrawled across walls, footsteps overhead where there should be no ceiling. At 3:17 a.m., the phone buzzed. She shot upright. Heart pounding. It wants the tunnels. Maya stared at the message until the lines blurred. The tunnels. The word wrapped around her mind like a coil. She thought of the contractor logs, of Torrenwell's block letters scrawled year after year, of the network of service passages running unseen beneath campus like veins. She padded barefoot across the lavender carpet and stood by the window. Denise's street was quiet. Just a glow from porch lights and the faint hum of a transformer down the block. Nothing stirred. But she couldn't shake the sensation of being observed from below rather than outside, like eyes staring up through the foundation. Her phone buzzed again. It remembers who carried it last. Her skin prickled. She typed before fear could freeze her fingers. "What is it? Who are you?" Dots appeared, hesitated, vanished. Then, "You won't believe me yet. Don't let them bring it down. They'll try." Maya's grip tightened. The phrasing, "don't let them bring it down," suggested inevitability, like the next step in a sequence already underway. She wanted to throw the phone into the dresser and deny it, but instead, she whispered to the empty room, "Then what do I do?" No reply came. The morning brought false normalcy. Denise made eggs, buttered toast, handed her coffee in a travel mug like they were 2 ordinary coworkers instead of people who'd seen shadows crawl through ceiling tiles. Morales had texted an update. Sweep came up empty. "No, intruders found. Strap and tag sent for prints. Likely prank," the report read. The words looked thin against what they'd witnessed. Maya drove to campus anyway, because invoices and contracts waited for no ghost story. The parking lot was half full, students shouldering backpacks into morning classes. She parked near Building H, but sat frozen, hands on the wheel, staring at the brick facade. Windows glared back blankly, somewhere inside. The closet door waited. Her phone buzzed in the console, a new text, not from the unknown number this time. This one was internal. An automated alert. Key sign-out request, MH Alpha duplicate, user, facility autogen. Her breath caught. Autogen? There was no such user. Every request should have been attached to a name. A badge. She checked the system ID twice, logged at 8:42 a.m. Approved. Approved by who? She whispered. The timestamp matched the moment she'd been buttering toast with Denise. Inside, her office looked untouched, papers stacked neatly. Desk light off, she sat, opened the procurement system, and pulled up the request history. There it was. Duplicate made Chain of custody noted as system override. She tried to drill down into the record, but hit a wall of permissions she'd never seen before, an error screen that blinked in red. Access path not found. Her phone buzzed. The unknown number again. It woke up. Now they're giving it what it wants. She typed back with shaking hands. Who is they? Dots. Then, anyone who listens too long. As if on cue. The overhead lights flickered. A low hum crawled through the ducts. Not electrical. More like a throat clearing far above. She shoved her chair back. And then, voices in the hall. Maintenance jackets. Two men she didn't recognize, rolling a cart stacked with toolboxes. They paused at the junction by the janitor's closet, swiped a badge, and the closet door clicked open. Maya froze in her doorway. Half hidden, one of them reached up, tugged the ladder down like it belonged to him. The other cradled something on his palm, a gleam of brass, the duplicate. Her phone vibrated. They're taking it down. Follow if you want answers. Maya's heartbeat drummed in her ears. She should walk away. Call Morales. Let security handle it. But as the men vanished into the ceiling crawl, the closet door swinging half shut behind them, she felt a tug deeper than curiosity, a pull like the tunnels themselves had whispered her name. She crossed the hall before she could argue with herself, slipped into the closet, and set her foot on the ladder rung. From above, the air poured down warm and metallic, carrying a whisper of words she couldn't quite make out. The ladder groaned under her weight, every step a protest that echoed up into the black crawl. Maya gripped the flashlight between her teeth, breath fogging the beam, hands damp as she climbed. Dust and fibers rained into her hair. At the top, she hauled herself onto a narrow plank walkway. The space smelled of insulation and old heat. Her light skimmed silver ducts, tangled pipes, and the men ahead. They moved quickly, heads low, purposeful. The duplicate key gleamed as one of them turned it in his fingers like a charm. Maya ducked low, crawling forward on her elbows to stay silent. The planks rattled faintly beneath her knees. Each sound made her flinch. Certain they'd turn, but they didn't. They followed the duct line toward the mechanical room, where an old access hatch led directly into the tunnels. She knew the hatch, they all did. Students dared each other to slip inside, but it was always padlocked. In the logs, Torrin Wells had checked it out again and again. The men stopped at a junction where the duct widened into shadow. One set down the toolbox. The other lifted the key to a padlock bolted to a hatch plate. Click! The shackle sprang open. A wash of air surged from below. Damp and stale, like stone left wet for years. Maya gagged at the sudden change. The men didn't react. One whispered, "It's still waiting." The other replied, "Not for long. Tonight it goes deeper." Maya's stomach twisted. She strained to hear more. But a flake of insulation dislodged under her elbow and floated down. It landed on the toolbox lid with a soft hiss. Both heads whipped around. Flashlight beams slashed across the crawl. Yittering. Searching. Maya pressed flat against the duct. Heartbeat hammering her rib cage, she shut off her own light, praying the dark would cover her. "Someone's here," one hissed. "No," the other said. "It's just the building." "Don't be stupid. The building doesn't breathe." The first beam passed so close, she felt its heat on her cheek. She clenched her teeth to keep from gasping. Then a sound rose from the open hatch, a deep, wet inhalation. The air pulled inward, sucking dust and fibers down into the dark like breath-filling lungs. The men froze. Their lights jittered as if their hands trembled. "It knows," one whispered. A second voice drifted up. not belonging to either man, low and stretched. The syllables blurred as if spoken through water. Bring it down. Maya's vision swam. Every instinct screamed to retreat. But the pull was stronger now. A tug at the base of her skull, dragging her toward the hatch. Her phone buzzed silently in her pocket. She eased it out with shaking fingers, shielded the glow, and read, "Don't let them finish. If it's opened fully, nothing shuts it again." Her pulse throbbed so hard, her hand shook. She slid the phone back, steadied herself, and watched as one of the men clipped the padlock open wide. He slipped the duplicate key into his shirt pocket like a badge of honor. The hatch groaned as they lifted it. Warm air swelled upward, carrying with it the stink of mildew and rust, and beneath it all, something else, an almost sweet undertone, like decay hidden under perfume. Maya's knees trembled. She had two choices: slink back down the ladder and pretend she'd seen nothing, or follow them into whatever waited in the tunnels. The second choice was madness. And yet, when the men lowered themselves into the opening one after the other, toolbox rattling between them, Maya crept forward, every now auflahm, and pressed her face to the hatch rim. The tunnels yawned below. Concrete walls, slick with condensation. A dim glow pulsing deeper and like something alive. The glow pulsed like a heartbeat, faint but steady, staining the tunnel walls a sickly orange red. Maya crouched at the hatch, her breath catching. She'd walked these tunnels before on guided inspections, sterile corridors of concrete, pipes wrapped in insulation, humming with chilled water. They had never looked like this. The two men dropped down one by one, their flashlights bobbing as they landed on the slick floor. The glow seemed to throb brighter in their presence, as if it recognized them. Maya hesitated. If she followed, she would be committed. She touched the rim of the hatch, feeling the rusted bite of metal beneath her palms. If I go back now, I'll never know what they're doing, and then whatever this is, it won't stop. She slid her legs over the edge and lowered herself. Her shoes hit wet concrete with a hollow slap. The smell down here was worse, like stagnant water mixed with scorched copper. The men hadn't noticed her yet. They were already walking. One carrying the toolbox, the other fingering the key in his pocket as if it anchored him. Their footsteps splashed softly. Maya crouched low, using the hum of pipes to mask her movements as she followed. She counted her breaths, kept her steps in rhythm with theirs. The glow grew stronger with every turn, until it began to cast long shadows that bent unnaturally, stretching away from the light instead of toward it. Finally, the tunnel opened into a chamber. Maya froze in the threshold. The room was circular, older than the rest of the tunnels. The concrete was cracked as if poured decades earlier, and along the walls someone had etched marks, lines, and symbols that resembled keys, but warped, bows elongated, teeth like jagged mouths. At the center of the floor was a grate, large enough for a man to fit through. Iron bars wet with condensation, the glow seeped from beneath it, pulsing like a heart submerged in water. Each throb made the bars vibrate faintly, singing a low, metallic note. The men set down the toolbox. One knelt, pulling out items, bundles of wire, a coil of rope, a heavy brass key blank. The other removed the duplicate from his pocket and held it over the grate as if in offering. Maya pressed herself against the wall, nails digging into the cracked concrete. Her throat was dry. The kneeling man spoke. His voice was quiet, but the words carried bouncing along the chamber walls. Tonight, we return what was promised. The other answered, "It will open for us. The old locks are only waiting." He lowered the duplicate key toward the grate. The bars seemed to bend, straining upward as if reaching for it. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. She yanked it out with trembling hands, terrified the sound had given her away. On the screen was another message from the unknown number. "If they feed it the duplicate, the tunnels won't stay beneath the ground. Stop them." Her lungs seized. She looked back at the men, who now pressed the duplicate against the bars. The metal hissed where they touched, like ice on a skillet. She had seconds to decide. Stay hidden and let them finish, or step into the circle and risk everything. The glow pulsed again, brighter, and this time she swore she heard it whisper her name. Maya, her name, breathed up through the grate like steam. It wasn't a voice. She recognized no accent, no cadence of someone alive. It was thick, wet, and layered, as if several mouths spoke it at once. The men didn't flinch. They pressed the duplicate key harder against the bars, sweat shining on their temples in the red glow. The grate vibrated violently, the metallic hum swelling until it became a pressure that rattled Maya's teeth. Her phone buzzed again in her hand. Do something, now. Her body moved before her mind could stop it. She stepped from the shadows. Voice cracking. Put it down. Both men jerked, heads snapping toward her. Their eyes caught the glow and gleamed with an unnatural sheen. For a beat, they only stared, and then the one kneeling growled. She followed. The other stood, shoulders rigid. She's listening already. Maya's gaze darted to the duplicate in his hand. The grate's bars strained upward, almost brushing the brass. She thought of the message. If they feed it the duplicate, the tunnels won't stay beneath the ground. She lunged. Her shoes skidded on the wet concrete as she slammed into the man holding the key. He staggered, cursed, and the duplicate flew from his hand, clattering across the chamber floor. The glow immediately dimmed, the bars recoiling as if denied a meal. The kneeling man roared and grabbed her wrist. His grip was iron, far stronger than it should have been. His pupils were blown wide, swallowing color. His teeth gritted like a snarl. "You don't belong here," he spat. Maya twisted, kicked wildly, catching his shin. He staggered enough for her to wrench free, but the other man had already scrambled toward the fallen key. No, she hurled herself again, this time sliding across the damp concrete, her fingers closing around the brass just as his did. Their hands collided, wrestling for the metal. The key felt hot, almost alive, as though it pulsed with its own heartbeat. The grate below them groaned from beneath. Something shifted, pressing against the bars, a shape, indistinct, like a hand with too many joints straining upward. "Give it to me," the man snarled, eyes glassy. "It's not yours." Maya shoved backward, tearing the key from his grip. She stumbled to her feet, clutching it so hard the teeth dug into her palm. The glow flared angrily, the chamber vibrating. Her phone buzzed again. Nearly slipping from her pocket, she fumbled it open. "Break it, before it learns you." The grate shrieked as a bar bent outward, something wet and pale forcing through. A smell like rotting lilies filled the chamber. The men cried out in unison. "It's waking." Maya's stomach turned. She didn't think she raised the duplicate high and smashed it against the nearest pipe. The sound was sharp, final. The key snapped, brass teeth scattering. Instantly, the glow collapsed. The chamber plunged into darkness so thick it felt liquid. The thing beneath the grate shrieked a sound without air, vibrating inside her bones, and then recoiled with a crash that shook the walls. The men screamed, clutching their heads, before dropping to their knees like puppets with cut strings. Maya stood trembling in the dark, the broken half of the duplicate still clenched in her hand. She waited, ears straining. The glow did not return. The grate lay silent. Then, faint in the silence, her phone buzzed one last time. Good, but it still has the original. The words glowed on her phone screen, cold and final. Good, but it still has the original. Maya's knees threatened to give out. She looked down at the men. They were still breathing, but slack, their chests heaving shallowly. Whatever fervor had driven them seemed drained. Their hands twitched now and then, as if grasping for something they no longer held. She turned the broken half of the duplicate over in her palm. It was just metal again, cool, lifeless. Yet even in the dark, she could feel the weight of the truth. There was another key, the real one. She shoved the shard into her pocket, aimed her flashlight at the tunnel mouth, and backed away from the chamber. Her hands shook so badly the beam jittered across the walls, over the warped key shapes etched into the stone. They seemed to ripple as she passed, like water disturbed. The climb back up the hatch was a blur of adrenaline and raw fear. When she finally pulled herself into the crawl space, she lay flat on the planks, sucking air like a drowning swimmer. Her phone buzzed again. Leave them. Get out. They'll wait confused. Not dangerous for now. Maya crawled backward until she reached the closet ladder, descended, and stumbled into the hallway. The fluorescent lights felt harsh, alien. She shut the door and pressed her forehead to the cool cinder block wall. Denise found her 30 minutes later in the staff lounge, sitting rigid with a paper cup of water untouched in her hands. Jesus. Maya, you look like you've been underground. Maya laughed. Short and sharp. I have. Denise sat opposite, her lipstick smudged now, worry making her look older. What happened? Maya opened her mouth, closed it again. How could she explain the chamber, the grate, the thing beneath? That she'd fought men who seemed possessed, that she'd broken a key meant to feed something living under the college. She settled for, there are people using the tunnels. They're not maintenance. They're carrying keys. Denise frowned. Keys? Maya pulled the shard from her pocket, set it on the table. They made a duplicate. I broke it, but her throat tightened. There's still the original. Denise stared at the jagged brass fragment, her face pale. And you think, what? Someone's protecting it? Before Maya could answer, her phone buzzed again. She didn't want to look, but her hand betrayed her. You can't hide it forever. The original is marked. You saw the tag. She remembered the ledger. Torrin Wells, Basin Trades, MH Alpha, his careful block letters on every line. Marked. Maya whispered. The original isn't just a key, it's claimed. Denise leaned in, voice low. Then we find it before they do. But the phone buzzed again, as if mocking her. It already knows you touched its copy. Now it will come looking. Maya's reflection stared back at her in the black screen, eyes wide and ringed in shadow. Somewhere deep beneath the campus, something shifted, listening. That night, sleep was impossible. Every time Maya closed her eyes, she heard the hiss of brass against iron, the grate bending like a rib cage. She heard her name whispered by something that had never been human. She gave up around 3 a.m., and spread the old contractor logs across her coffee table, paper edges curled like dead leaves. She traced her finger down the pages until the name appeared again and again. Torrin Wells, always in the same blocky hand, always paired with MH Alpha. The last entry was 5 years ago. No returned checkmark beside the line, just empty space. Her phone lit up without buzzing this time, as if whoever or whatever sent the messages knew she was waiting. You see it now. He never gave it back. Her stomach flipped. Torrin still has the original. She whispered to the empty room. The screen shifted. Not Torrin anymore. The one who carries it isn't the same. Maya pushed the logbook away. Papers scattering. Not the same? Did that mean Torrin was dead, or worse, changed into whatever had snarled in the chamber? Her hands shook as she typed. Where is he? A long pause. Then, beneath the old steam junction, the deepest lock, if it opens, the ground won't hold. Maya swallowed hard. She knew the junction, a cavern where several tunnel lines met. Unused since the college upgraded its systems. She remembered the rust-streaked doors and the dripping pipes, the air always too warm, too thick. Her phone buzzed again before she could think further. You can still stop it, but you'll need help. By dawn, she was pacing outside Building H. Nerves stretched thin. The world looked ordinary students drifting across the quad. Sprinklers ticking on the lawn. The smell of wet grass. She wanted to scream at them. Don't you know what's under your feet? Instead, she waited for Morales. He'd agreed to meet her after hearing possible unauthorized tunnel access in her voicemail. He arrived in his cruiser. Uniform pressed. Eyes tired. You look like hell, he said, unlocking the trunk to grab a flashlight and radio. What's so urgent I had to skip breakfast? Maya held up the logbook, open to Torrin's name. This man never returned his master key. I think he's still down there. And last night I saw 2 men trying to use a duplicate. Morales squinted at the page. 5 years ago? That's a cold lead. Maya. They weren't just in the tunnels. They were feeding something. The words tasted insane. But she pressed on. I broke the duplicate. But if they have the original, it's worse. He raised a brow. Worse than trespassers? Her voice cracked. Worse than human. For a moment, he just studied her, weighing the fear behind her words. Then, unexpectedly, he nodded. Show me. Relief made her knees weak. The old steam junction, she said. That's where he'll be. Morales locked the cruiser, clipped his radio to his belt. Then we'll check it. But if I find kids messing around, you owe me breakfast tacos for a month. They descended through the maintenance hatch near the library, the air turning damp and stale the deeper they went. Pipes dripped steadily, their echoes stretching too long in the silence. When they reached the corridor leading to the junction, Maya felt the hairs on her arms rise. The concrete here bore faint scratches. Curved lines gouged into the walls like the warped key shapes she'd seen in the chamber. Morales noticed. Graffiti? He asked. She shook her head. No, something carving from the inside out. They turned the last corner. Flashlights catching on the steel doors of the steam junction. The metal bulged outward, bowed in the middle as if something behind it had pressed for years. Rust streaks fanned like veins. Maya's phone buzzed. She lifted it with a trembling hand. It's awake, and it knows you're here. The steel doors moaned, as if the message itself had weight. Morales braced a hand against one of the bulges. The metal was warm. Too warm for a door that hadn't held live steam in years. Feels like a furnace back there, he muttered. Maya's chest tightened. The warmth radiated through the air like breath, pulsing faintly, in rhythm with the pressure behind the grate she'd seen. Her phone lit again. "Don't open it. If you cross the threshold, you belong to it." "Morales," she began. But he was already pulling a pry bar from his kit. "Unauthorized access. Strange noises. Bulging doors. I have to check it." His tone was steady, but sweat dotted his temples. "Step back." "No. Listen to me." She grabbed his sleeve. "Whatever's inside, it isn't supposed to leave." He gave her a look that was half pity, half concern. "Maya, you've been under too much stress. You're seeing patterns that aren't..." The doors thudded from the inside. Once, hard enough to rattle their flashlights. Dust cascaded from the ceiling. Morales froze. His hand stayed on the bar. Or maybe not. The thud came again, followed by a scraping sound. A key turning in a lock, but there was no lock on their side. Maya's phone buzzed. "He's inside. He carries the original," she whispered. "Torrin." The scraping ended in a metallic click. A thin line of orange light bled between the doors, crawling across the floor like molten veins. Morales swore and planted his shoulder against the seam. Something's forcing it. Maya shoved beside him. The heat pressed harder, searing through her clothes. She could hear it breathing, now wet. Cavernous pulls of air. And underneath, a voice that made her skull ache. "Open, down, open." Her phone slipped from her pocket, clattered to the floor. Screen glowing. A new line appeared by itself. No buzz this time. "Break the chain before he turns it twice." "What chain?" she gasped. Then she saw it through the widening seam, past the glow. Torrin Wells. Or what was left of him. His body was a husk stretched thin, skin gray and damp. But his hand was steady on the master key. The chain of an old padlock dangled from the inside latch, already split once. He was turning the key for the second time. Maya's eyes darted to Morales' belt. Zip ties, a length of chain in his kit for barriers. Anything could be a stopgap. But Torrin's head turned, eyes clouded white. Jaw unhinged too wide. He saw her. Maya. The second turn began. The doors heaved. Maya lunged for Morales' chain. "Help me stop him now. Me stop." The old chain clanged in Maya's hands, greasy and cold. She hauled it from Morales' kit, adrenaline turning her arms to wires. "Tie it fast," she barked. Morales slammed his shoulder against the bowing seam again, buying her seconds. The glow inside flared, bathing his face in orange, sweat gleaming like fire. The sound of the key grinding into its second turn shrieked against the doors. Maya looped the chain through both pull handles, yorking it tight, her hands fumble, the links slick with rust. Morales tossed her a carabiner from his belt. She snapped it shut, locking the chain. The moment it clicked, the doors shuddered violently, slamming against the restraint. The sound was like a giant heartbeat ricocheting in the tunnel. From behind the doors came a howl not human, not animal, but a layered chorus, as though every voice that had ever entered the tunnels screamed at once. Back, Morales grabbed her, yanking her away just as a hand punched through the seam. It was Torrin's hand, or what remained, fingers elongated. Nails curved into iron-colored hooks. The skin split where it bent, leaking a thin, dark fluid that steamed when it hit the concrete. He clawed at the chain, but the restraint held. The voice followed, booming against their skulls. "Give back what's mine." Maya's vision swam. She thought of the broken duplicate in her pocket, the ledger of signatures, the bagged original that had never been returned. The chain rattled under Torin's strength. One more surge, and it would give. Her phone buzzed on the floor. Screen cracked from the fall. A message bled across the light. It can't take what you never claim. Speak it back. Deny its name. Morales shouted over the noise. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. Maya clutched her head. Deny its name. Torin's warped mouth shoved into the seam. Teeth chattering like a lock being tested. His eyes burned white in the glow. He hissed her name again. Drawn out. Hungry. Ma-ya. Her throat dried. Then she understood. It wants me to answer, she said. Don't. Morales barked. The voice pounded harder. Say it. Open. Maya steadied her breath. The phone's message seared in her mind. Deny its name. She stepped forward, close enough to feel the heat against her face, and shouted into the seam. You are not Torin Wells. The tunnels shook. The glow flickered. The thing's hand spasmed. Nails screeching against the chain. You don't belong here, she cried. Louder. Each word burning her throat. You are nothing. The howl that erupted shattered light fixtures along the tunnel. Sparks raining down. The heat vanished in an instant, replaced by a vacuum pull. As if the thing had been yanked backward, the doors slammed shut against the chain. Rattling once, then silence. Only the drip of condensation remained. Morales sagged against the wall, breathing hard. What the hell just happened? Maya Bint picked up her cracked phone. A final message lingered on the broken screen. Not gone, only sealed, until the key turns again. She closed her fist around the phone. The silence of the tunnel pressed too heavy, too fragile. Then we make sure no one ever finds that key, she said. They climbed out of the tunnels in silence, the weight of what had almost broken through still clinging to their clothes like soot by the time they reached the surface. The morning sun was too bright, too ordinary. Students laughed across the quad, clutching iced coffees, oblivious to the heat that had almost swallowed them whole. Morales leaned against the wall of Building H, tugging at his collar. His face was pale, jaw tight. I should call this in, he said finally. But what do I even write? Officer contained, a key demon in the boiler room. Maya's cracked phone buzzed before she could answer. A new message, bleeding across the fractured glass. Don't trust the report. They'll bury it. She showed it to him. Morales exhaled sharply. Who the hell keeps texting you? I don't know. Maya admitted, her voice low, but they've been right every time. He rubbed his face. So what? We just pretend none of this happened? Leave that thing chained up until it finds another way? No, Maya said. Her own voice surprised her. It didn't shake. We find the original key. We destroy it. For good. Morales studidea. Then nodded once. Then we start with Torin Wells. The college HR records were archived in a beige filing cabinet that smelled faintly of toner and dust. Denise pulled the file herself, eyes darting between Maya and Morales like she was bracing for whatever storm was about to land on her desk. Wells. Torin. She read. Independent contractor, basin trades, worked campus maintenance for 11 years. She flipped pages. Termination of contract 5 years ago. No forwarding address. File notes. Failed to return property 1 key. MH Alpha. She held up the page. Brows drawn. Sound familiar? Maya's stomach turned. It's him. Denise hesitated. There's more. She laid out a stapled incident report. Campus police called to the south tunnels after a contractor collapse. Torin had been found unconscious. Skin clammy. Eyes rolled back. The report noted dehydration, possible chemical exposure. He'd been taken off campus by paramedics. No follow-up was documented. "Where'd they take him?" Morales asked. "County Hospital," Denise said, scanning the sheet. But there's no discharge summary in the file. Nothing after. Maya's phone buzzed in her lap. He never left. The hospital didn't keep him. He went back underground. She turned the screen so the others could see. Denise's lips thinned. Morales muttered a curse. "So what now?" Denise asked. "We can't exactly post flyers saying return cursed key to lost and found." Maya tapped the file with one finger. "We track him. If Torin didn't die at the hospital, someone saw him after. Someone knows where he went." The phone buzzed again. "Start with his house. The key always pulls its holder home." Maya swallowed hard. "Then we find his address." Denise flipped back through the file, then pulled a yellowing sticky note from the back. A scrawl of numbers and street name barely legible. 417 Coyote Trace. Morales pocketed the note. "Let's go." Coyote Trace was a dead-end street on the far edge of town, where half the houses sagged behind overgrown mesquite. Torin's place sat at the end, a one-story ranch gone gray with sun. The windows were covered in foil from the inside. The yard was a sprawl of weeds high enough to rattle against the cars they parked. The front door bore 3 separate locks, all hanging open. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket before she even stepped out of the car. He left it here, but not alone. The 3 locks dangled, open but not broken, swaying in the warm breeze. Morales touched one with his glove. Brows furrowed. Somebody wanted this place accessible, or wanted someone to think it was. Maya said. The porch smelled faintly metallic, the same coppery tang she'd breathed in the tunnels. Denise shifted uneasily, hand hovering near the taser clipped to her belt. "I don't like this. If he's in there." "He's not," Maya whispered. Almost certain, not all of him. The door creaked as Morales pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick, stale, clotted with heat despite the foil windows. The living room looked abandoned mid-motion, a chair overturned. Newspapers yellowed into fragile stacks. A work boot in the middle of the floor with laces curled like dried worms. Dust lay over everything except a single trail leading deeper into the house. Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it in the dim light. "Don't step off the path." She raised her head. The dustless trail was narrow, weaving toward a hallway. The carpet around it was thick with neglect, but the strip itself looked recently disturbed. Footprints faint but visible. They followed in silence. The hallway walls were scarred with gouges long, shallow scratches at shoulder height, some curving, some straight, like someone had dragged a key with teeth too wide to belong to any lock. The trail ended at a door at the back of the house, Torin's bedroom. Perhaps the door was closed. Edges warped with moisture. A dark stain spread across the carpet beneath. Morales put a hand on the knob, then paused. "You ready?" Maya nodded. Though her stomach lurched, Denise muttered, "We should have brought backup." The knob turned with a reluctant groan. The smell hit them first mildew, rot, and something sweet, like spoiled fruit. The room was stripped bare except for the bed frame, and on it lay a wooden chest, old and blackened, its brass fittings tarnished green. A single tag dangled from the latch, MH Alpha. Maya's breath caught. The chest pulsed faintly, wood swelling and contracting as if breathing. Her phone buzzed violently. She fumbled it open, heart hammering. "Don't open it. It isn't empty." Morales cursed under his breath. So this is where he left the key. No. Maya said, voice shaking. This is the key. The chest shuddered then, rattling the frame, and a low sound leaked from inside, like a lock turning, but slower, stretched into a moan. Denise stepped back. We need to torch this place. The chest jolted again, harder. The brass fittings bent outward, one snapping with a sharp ping. Maya's phone lit once more. Letters smeared as if written in panic. It knows you. If it opens here, the house won't hold. The chest heaved, wood splintering. Something inside pressed against the seams, straining to break free. Morales gripped his radio but didn't raise it. He looked at Maya, his face pale but steady. Decide. Do we destroy it here or drag it out before it cracks? The chest groaned. Another fitting snapped loose, clattering to the floor. Maya whispered, "We don't have time." The chest bucked against the frame, the wood shrieking as another brass fitting tore free. Dust rained from the ceiling with every jolt. "We do it here," Maya said, her voice firmer than she felt. "If we drag it out, it'll split before we reach the street." Morales gritted his teeth, scanning the room. No accelerant, nothing to burn it with. Denise's gaze darted around the bare walls, then snapped to the old lamp in the corner. Wiring. We fry it. They yanked the lamp cord free, stripping the frayed wires with Morales' multi-tool. The chest continued to convulse, wood fibers snapping like tendons. A thin hiss seeped from inside, syllables trying to shape themselves into words. Maya's phone buzzed. The message smeared across the cracked screen. "It wants to be fed, not burned. Starve it. Break the seal." Her stomach dropped. "Not electricity," she said. "The tag, it's the seal." The brass tag stamped MH Alpha dangled from the latch, swinging with every jolt. The handwriting on it was blocky. "Careful. Torrents." Morales held the live wires ready. "Uncertain. Make the call." "Maya." The chest swelled again. A crack zigzagging across the lid. A pale hand too long, too thin, poked through the gap. Fingers twitching. The nails were brass teeth. Maya lunged. She seized the tag with both hands and tore. The brass snapped free of the latch, the string cutting into her palms. Instantly, the chest shrieked, a sound like every door hinge in the world screaming at once. The hand convulsed, clawing blindly, before dissolving into ash that stung her eyes. The chest collapsed inward, wood folding like paper, until nothing remained but a heap of black dust on the bed frame. The room went silent. No breathing, no pulsing, just silence. Maya staggered back, chest heaving. Denise lowered her taser, hands trembling. Morales dropped the stripped wires to the floor. "Is it over?" Denise whispered. Maya's phone buzzed softly. She stared at the glowing words. "You broke the seal. Good, but pieces scatter. The original is never just one." Her throat tightened. She turned the phone to show the others. Morales swore under his breath. Before she could speak, the house groaned. A deep crack ran down the bedroom wall, splitting plaster. The floor tilted slightly under their feet. "Time to go," Morales barked. They bolted through the hall, past the dustless path, past the gouged walls. As they burst into the sunlight, the house behind them exhaled one long, shuddering sigh. Then, with a collapse like an old lung giving out, the roof caved inward, burying the bedroom in a plume of gray dust. They stood in the yard, coughing, eyes wide. The house settled into ruin. Maya's phone buzzed once more. One fragment down, others will surface. The chain is older than him. Maya stared at the foil-covered windows, now crushed and broken. It wasn't Torin anymore. It was something much older. And it wasn't finished. For a long while, the three of them stood watching the house sag into silence. Dust hung like fog. Curling in the sunbeams, a stray mesquite branch rattled in the hot wind. Denise finally spoke, her voice low and tight. So, it wasn't just Torin. Maya shook her head, eyes locked on the heap of ruin where the chest had been. No, he was only carrying a piece of it, like a vessel. Morales wiped sweat and grit from his brow. If that was just one fragment, how many are we talking about? Her phone buzzed before she could answer. She dreaded looking, but she couldn't resist. 13. Hennis Bogle. And Denise grabbed her arm. What? She turned the cracked screen so they both could see. Morales swore viciously. 13 fragments? Denise whispered. The phone lit again. Scattered, hidden, waiting. Each one remembers its key holder. Maya's chest tightened, and one already remembered me. The memory of the tunnels clawed back how it had hissed her name through the grate. Wet and stretched, she pressed a fist to her sternum, trying to steady her breathing. Then we need to find the others first, Morales said grimly. Destroy them before anyone else does what Torin did. Denise looked from him to Maya. Do you hear yourselves? This isn't procurement or campus security anymore. This is... Her voice cracked. This is something bigger. We should call state. Federal. Someone. Maya's phone buzzed sharply, interrupting. If you call them, it spreads. Keys want keepers. Keepers want power. Denise swore under her breath and turned away, pacing. Morales' jaw flexed. So we're alone in this. Maya pocketed the phone, feeling its cracked glass pulse faintly against her thigh. Not alone. Whoever's sending these messages, they're watching, helping. They know. Or they're using you. Denise shot back. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the faint groan of the ruined house settling deeper into itself. Morales finally said, Either way, we can't stay here. Neighbors will call this in. We don't want questions we can't answer. They walked back to the car, weeds brushing their legs. As Maya reached for the handle, her phone buzzed again. The next will surface at dusk. Follow the sound of turning locks. She froze, staring at the words. Dusk was only hours away. Her reflection in the cracked screen looked older, hollowed. She whispered to herself. 1 down, 12 to go. By the time they reached campus, dusk had begun to creep over the horizon. The sky was bruised purple, the edges of the buildings etched in fading gold. Students still milled about, but the laughter sounded thinner, strained. Every slam of a locker door, every click of a lock from a bike chain made Maya's skin crawl. Her phone buzzed as they passed the library. Listen, it calls in rhythm. 3 quick, 1 slow. Maya froze. The same pattern she'd first heard on the roof of Building H. She glanced at Morales and Denise. Do you hear it? Morales cocked his head. Hear what? And then it came again, click. Click. Click, drag. Not footsteps this time, but locks. Padlocks snapping open in perfect sequence somewhere below them. Denise swore softly. It's in the tunnels again. They hurried to the maintenance hatch near the science wing, the one Morales had keys for. The moment the metal door opened, the smell of damp earth and rust bled up like a wound. The sound was clearer here. Click, 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 dra. Maya's phone buzzed as they descended. Fragment 2 has chosen. Stop it before it spreads. The narrow corridor was lit only by their flashlights. Pipes dripped overhead. The clicking echoed from deeper in the junctions. They followed the sound until they reached a heavy service door painted green. A faint glow bled from beneath it, not orange like before, but pale yellow, steady and cold. Morales braced himself, hand hovering near his holster. Ready? Maya no dead. Though her heart pounded like a drum, Denise muttered, God help us, and unclipped her taser. They pushed the door open. Inside was a small chamber lined with old electrical panels. Most were dark, but one in the center hummed faintly. Its meter spinning, though it wasn't connected to anything. And there, kneeling in front of it, was a student. His backpack lay open beside him. Textbook spilled out. His hands were pressed flat against the panel, trembling. The pale glow seeped from the cracks around his fingers. His head jerked up at their entrance. His eyes shone a solid, waxy yellow. Morales raised his light. Step away, now. The student's mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was layered, unscient, metallic. Another keeper, another lock, another door. The panel clanged as if something inside it shifted. The lights in the hallway flickered. Maya's phone buzzed. If it roots in him, he's gone. Sever it now. Her throat tightened. The glow around his fingers spread, crawling up his wrists like veins of light. The boy whimpered through clenched teeth. A thin echo beneath the otherworldly voice. Maya. Morales barked. What do we do? The student's body spazzed. Locks along the far wall began snapping open one by one. Click. 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 Dra. Maya gripped the broken shard of brass in her pocket. Her palm burned. We break the connection, she whispered. But she had no idea how. The glow raced higher up the student's arms, branching across his chest beneath his shirt like a second skeleton. His eyes flickered, yellow spilling outward until the whites were drowned. Break it how? Morales barked, aiming his flashlight beam straight at the boy's face. Talk to me. Maya's phone buzzed, vibrating so hard she nearly dropped it. On the cracked screen, letters crawled across like they were being scratched in real time. The tag binds the keeper. Find it. Tear it. Her eyes darted to the boy's backpack. Amid the textbooks and loose papers, something glinted, an old brass tag tied to the zipper with a shoelace. Beta. Mayabidized. Reading the etched letters, Denise lunged for it. The moment her fingers brushed the tag, the student shrieked, his voice splitting into two tones, one terrified, the other inhuman. The glow flared, searing white now, and the panel behind him groaned like it was being forced open from the inside. Do it, Maya yelled. Denise yanked hard. The lace snapped. She hurled the tag to the ground. Maya stomped it with her heel. Brass gave way with a brittle crack. The glow vanished. The student collapsed, gasping raggedly. The panel door slammed shut, sparks spitting from its seams before going dead. Silence dropped heavy. Denise crouched, checking the boy's pulse. He's alive, she said, voice shaking, unconscious, but alive. Morales dragged a hand down his face. Jesus Christ. Maya bent to the broken tag. Its edges hissed faintly before crumbling into ash, leaving only scorch marks on the concrete. Her phone buzzed again. Fragment 2 severed. 11 remain. She showed the screen to the others. Denise cursed, shoving hair back from her face. 11? We barely survived this. Morales glanced at the unconscious boy, then at Maya. If these things keep finding keepers, students, contractors, this campus becomes ground zero. Maya's pulse thundered. She imagined 11 more panels, chests, locks, each with a keeper whispering open. Her phone buzzed once more, softer this time. The next one waits above, roof. Her mind flashed back to the first night, the footsteps on Building H, the drag across the ceiling, the sound that started it all. She whispered, "It's already there." The three of them scrambled back up through the maintenance hatch. By the time they surfaced, the campus had settled into evening hush, lamplight spilling over walkways, cicadas thrumming in the heat, a few stragglers crossing the quad with backpacks. Everything looked painfully normal. But Maya heard it faint, deliberate. 3 quick, 1 slow. On the roof of Building H, Morales muttered a curse. You weren't imagining it that first night. No, Maya said, her skin crawling. It was waiting. They hurried across the lawn, the sound growing louder the closer they got. The roofline cut black against the indigo sky. And every few seconds, the rhythm repeated. Not footsteps, not locks. Something in between the metallic click of a latch turning, followed by a dragging scrape. Denise stopped short. Tell me we're not climbing up there. Maya's phone buzzed. It claims high places. Keys look for watchers. She looked up at the blank windows. The roof edge, lost in shadow. It's already watching. Morales exhaled through his nose. Fine. Roof access is in the stairwell. He glanced at Denise. You don't have to. I'm not letting you two go up there alone. She drew her taser, hand steady despite her words. The stairwell was stale with heat. The fluorescent lights buzzing weakly. Their footsteps echoed too loudly, as though something above them mimicked every step half a beat later. At the top, the metal door to the roof stood ajar. Maya's phone buzzed again as they reached it. The tag will be hanging. Break it before it finishes the circle. Morales pushed the door open. Warm night air swept in, carrying the dry scent of tar and dust. The roof stretched wide and flat, scattered with humming HVAC units, and at the far edge stood a figure. Tall, too tall. Its limbs moved stiffly, like joints had been added where they didn't belong. It paced along the parapet, tracing the rhythm with deliberate steps, 3 quick, 1 slow. Every time the slow step landed, the roof vibrated faintly. Around its neck dangled a brass tag on a chain, glinting under the security light, MH Gamma. Maya's breath caught. The figure turned toward them. Its face was wrong, drawn long, stretched, as if it had been pulled upward by invisible hooks. Its mouth opened wide, and in a chorus of voices, it whispered her name. Ma, Ya. Her legs trembled, but she forced herself forward. It wants me. No, Morales said sharply, pulling his flashlight. It wants the tag. The figure began to walk toward them, chain clinking with every lurching step. Denise raised her taser. Tell me when to strike. Maya's phone buzzed violently. Don't let it cross the roof. Once the circle closes, the sky opens. She looked at Morales and Denise, terror hollowing her voice. We have to take it now. The thing lurched closer, its gait grotesque, yet steady. 3 quick, 1 slow. Each slow step rattled the HVAC housings, bolts quivering like teeth. The brass tag at its neck swung with each movement, flashing MH Gamma in the sodium light. Morales leveled his flashlight, the beam cutting a harsh line across its face. You cut the tag last time. Maya, do it again. I can't get close enough, she snapped. Her eyes locked on the way its arms dragged, fingers grazing the tar paper roof with a screech like nails on a chalkboard. Denise raised her taser. I'll slow it, grab the chain when it drops. Before Maya could object, Denise surged forward and fired. The crackle lit up the night, prongs striking the figure square in the chest. For a second, it convulsed, body jerking in an unnatural arc. A stench of burnt copper filled the air, but instead of falling, it laughed a grinding, layered sound that made Maya's vision blur. The taser wires melted away, dropping as ash. Denise staggered back, eyes wide. That's not possible. The figure straightened, grin splitting wider than bone allowed. Its voice scraped across the roof like a blade. The circle closes, the lock turns. It stepped again, 3 quick, 1 slow. The sound spread outward, echoing across the night sky, far away. Doors clapped shut in sequence, as though the whole campus was joining in the rhythm. Maya's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She yanked it out. Screen flickering. The tag is the lock. Break it, or the sky opens. Her pulse thundered. The chain, she shouted, and sprinted. The figure swung one grotesque arm, aiming to swat her away like an insect. Morales lunged between them, flashlight in hand, smashing the beam's metal casing across its limb. Bone or whatever passed for it cracked with a hollow sound. The creature staggered, long face twisting in silent rage. Maya seized the chance. She leapt, grabbing the swinging brass tag. The chain was ice cold, burning her palms as she yanked with all her weight. The tag screamed, not the creature, the tag itself. The sound vibrated up her arms, rattling her teeth. The figure clutched its throat, howling, "Mine, keeper, mine. Break it." "Maya," Morales roared. She wrenched, chain links snapping one by one until at last the brass tag tore free. She stumbled backward, clutching it. The glow inside the letters flickered wildly, then split the night with a shriek. She slammed it against the roof edge. Once, twice, the metal bent, teeth biting her skin. With a final scream, it cracked in two. The figure collapsed, limbs folding wrong, body hitting the tar with a wet slap. It writhed, mouth opening and closing without sound, before dissolving into black smoke that seeped through the roof like water down a drain. Silence crashed over them. The echoing rhythm died. The campus lay still again. Maya dropped the ruined tag, chest heaving. Her phone buzzed one last time. Fragment 3 severed, 10 remain. The circle is patient. She stared at the message, trembling. 10. And then, faintly on the wind, she heard it another click. Not from the roof, not from the tunnels, from inside Building H. Denise whispered, "It's not stopping." "Is it?" Maya's voice was a rasp. "No, it's only beginning." The click echoed again, muffled but deliberate, somewhere deep inside Building H. Click, 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 drag. Maya's stomach twisted. It's already moving to the next fragment. Morales shoved the ruined tag into an evidence bag, hand shaking despite his gruff tone. "We can't chase them one by one across the whole damn campus. We'll collapse before we even get to 9. Let alone 10. Denise's face glistened with sweat, pale under the rooftop lights. Then what? Let them keep surfacing until the last one breaks through. You saw what happened in the tunnels. Whatever's behind those locks wants out. Maya's phone buzzed. Screen cracked, but glowing steady. They rise faster now. Each fragment calls the next. You can't sever them all by chance. Find the core. Break the chain. The core, Maya whispered. She looked at the others. There has to be a center, something holding all of them together. A master lock. Denise frowned. Like the master key MH Alpha. Her mind flashed back to Torrens' ledger. His careful block letters. Alpha. Beta. Gamma. The fragments weren't random. They were ordered. Sequenced. Alpha was Torren, she said. Beta was the student in the panel. Gamma was the thing on the roof. She swallowed hard. That means there's a whole series, a progression. Morales stared at her. And when it hits 13, her phone buzzed, cutting him off. 13 turns, the ground opens. The words hung heavy, colder than the night air. They descended from the roof, their shadows long under the streetlights. The quad was nearly empty now. Only the hum of insects and the distant rumble of traffic. But Building H loomed ahead. Dark except for one flickering hallway light in the upper windows. Maya couldn't shake the feeling that every brick of it was listening. Inside, the air was heavier, stale, as if the building had exhaled once and forgotten to inhale again. Their footsteps echoed too long in the tiled halls. Click, 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 drag. It came from the east wing, near the old records archive. Morales drew his flashlight. We stick together, whatever's in there. We stop it before it roots. They crept down the corridor. The archive door was ajar, a faint glow seeping out. Not orange, not yellow. This time it was green thin, sickly, like light through stagnant water. Denise hissed, God, it smells. The stench curled down the hall, mildew and sulfur. Maya's throat burned as she pushed the door open. Inside, rows of shelves slumped with boxes of old invoices, dusty ledgers, and brittle microfilm reels. And in the center aisle, hunched over a ledger sprawled open on the floor, was a figure. It looked human at first, another student. Perhaps, but its arms were too long, bent wrong at the elbows as it scrawled furiously across the pages. Ink bled from its fingertips, carving letters into the paper. Block letters, over and over, MH Delta. The sound of locks turning filled the room, though no locks were visible. Every shelf groaned in sequence. Click, 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 drag, like an unseen hand was trying every record box as if they were doors. Maya's phone buzzed. If it writes its name, the archive becomes a gate. Tear the page. Her pulse thundered. It's writing itself into existence. The figure's head snapped up at her words. Face smeared with ink. Eyes glowing green. Its mouth split too wide. And with a chorus of voices, it whispered, Maya. The archive stank of wet ink and mold, every breath thick as paste. The figure crouched over the ledger hissed her name again. Ink drooling from the corners of its mouth like black saliva. Morales leveled his flashlight. Move away from it. The figure didn't move. Its inky fingers dragged across the page with a screech, scrawling MH Delta in block letters again and again, each stroke gouging deeper into the paper. The shelves around them groaned in rhythm. Click, 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 drag, as if unseen padlocks were clamping shut in unison. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. She yanked it out, hands trembling. The page is the tag. Tear it before the name finishes. Her throat tightened. The ledger. It's the tag this time. Denise swore under her breath. So rip it already. Maya darted forward. But the creature's head snapped up. Its eyes flared green. And the shelves bucked outward, like something inside was trying to burst free. Boxes rained down around her, invoices scattering like brittle leaves. The figure lunged, one long arm slamming the ledger shut, just as her fingers brushed the cover. The impact knocked her backward into the shelving. Wood cracked, dust exploded into her lungs. "Stay away," the creature bellowed, its voice layered with dozens of tones, as if every record in the room was speaking through it. Morales rushed it. "Baton rayast," striking its shoulder. The blow landed solid, but the creature's flesh absorbed it like wet clay. Ink bled from the wound, splattering across the tile and spelling crude letters that writhed before fading. Delta. Maya scrambled to her feet, coughing. The ledger lay half-crushed under the thing's hand, still vibrating with every scrawled name it had written. If the page was the tag, she had to destroy it completely. "Hold it," she shouted. Morales and Denise moved in together. Taser crackling, baton swinging. The creature shrieked as electricity sparked across its body, jerking it off balance for a split second. Maya seized the chance. She tore the ledger free, its spine screaming as paper ripped loose. She opened to the ink-drenched page. Her stomach lurched. The block letters weren't flat writing anymore. They writhed and twisted, the strokes wriggling like worms trying to crawl off the paper. Her phone buzzed in her other hand. Tear the name. She screamed and ripped the page straight down the middle. The sound that followed was like the snapping of 1,000 padlocks at once. The shelves crashed inward, dust exploding into a choking storm. The figure writhed, green light boiling from its eyes and mouth before collapsing into a puddle of ink that hissed and evaporated. The room fell silent except for their coughing. Maya dropped the torn halves of the page. They smoldered a moment, then crumbled into ash. Her phone buzzed again, softer this time. Fragment 4 severed. 9 remain. The archive remembers you now. Denise staggered upright, hair matted with dust. 9? Are you kidding me? We can't keep doing this. Maya, every time it nearly kills us. Morales pressed a hand to his side, wincing, but it's working. Every fragment we break weakens the chain. We have to keep going. Maya stared at the ruined ledger, ash still warm against her fingers. The words "the archive remembers you" gnawed at her chest. She could feel it. Already rows of boxes, miles of paper, all listening now, she whispered, barely audible. Then where's the next one? Her phone buzzed immediately. The keeper has already chosen. North lot. Car locks turning. The three of them burst out of Building H into the warm night air. The quad was almost deserted now, save for a few stragglers cutting across toward the dorms. But from the north lot, the sound was unmistakable. Click, 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 drag. Car locks. They hurried down the path, gravel crunching underfoot. The lot was lit by a scattering of flickering poles, shadows stretching long between the cars. The clicks came faster now, echoing like a ripple through the rows, locks snapping open and shut in sequence. A dome light flickered here. A trunk popped there. A chorus of machines obeying something unseen. There, Morales hissed, pointing. A silver sedan near the center of the lot shuddered violently, its headlights flashing without the horn. Every door lock clattered in rhythm, click, 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 drag, until they all dropped open at once. And then the driver's door eased itself wide. A man stepped out. He was middle-aged, perhaps a Professor Gray jacket, tie askew, but his eyes glowed faint blue, and his hand clutched a key fob so tight his knuckles split and bled. The fob's plastic casing bulged unnaturally, brass veins pushing through like roots. Maya's phone buzzed. MH Epsilon. Break the fob before it roots into the fleet. The man's mouth opened, words spilling out in the same layered chorus they'd come to dread. Every lock remembers its master. Every door is mine. Car alarms wailed in unison. A deafening cascade. Headlights blazed across the lot, blinding. One by one, engines sputtered to life without keys. The cars began to tremble as if straining against invisible restraints. Jesus Christ. Denise shouted, covering her ears. It's going to drive them, all of them. Morales surged forward. Baton raised. Drop the fob. The man turned his glowing eyes toward them, grinning wide. Not mine to drop. He lifted the fob high. Around them, a dozen steering wheels locked into position. Hans playing in rhythm. Click, 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 drag. Maya's pulse thundered. If the cars moved, if they surged into the street or the campus paths, students would die. Her phone buzzed again. The chain links through his hand. Sever it or the lot will run. She looked at the man's pale fingers clamped around the fob, brass veins threading into his skin. Morales shouted over the alarms. Tell me what to do. Maya. Her hands shook. The thought of it made her nauseous. But the words left her mouth before she could think. Break his hand. The alarms screamed so loud the pavement vibrated. Headlights painting the night in blinding strobes. The man with the glowing eyes raised the fob higher, and every engine revved in unison, a growl like a single beast straining to be unleashed. Morales didn't hesitate. He charged, baton swinging low. The strike landed with a sickening crack against the man's wrist. The hand broke. Bones splintered under the blow, twisting backward at an impossible angle. The man screamed not only in his own voice, but in the metallic chorus that echoed through the lot. My threen. The fob tumbled from his mangled grip, clattering to the asphalt, its casing split wide, brass spilling out in writhing strands like roots torn from soil. Maya lunged, stomping down on it with all her weight. The fob actually screamed before snapping in half. At once. The engines cut. Alarms died. The lights winked out in unison, plunging the lot into eerie silence. The man crumpled to the ground, his broken hand twitching. His eyes flickered, the blue glow dimming until only dull. Human pupils remained. He gasped for air, sobbing, clutching his ruined wrist. Denise stood frozen, taser still raised, hands shaking. Did that work? Maya Ben, staring at the shattered halves of the fob. They hissed faintly before dissolving into black ash that swirled away on the hot breeze. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She dreaded looking, but she did anyway. Fragment 5 severed. 8 remain. She shut her eyes, exhaustion threatening to swamp her. 8. Her voice cracked. There are still 8. Morales knelt by the man, who looked dazed, his lips trembling. Where did it go? He whispered. It said it would open everything. I saw the gates. Maya gripped his shoulder. What gates? What did it show you? His eyes brimmed with tears. Unfocused. Keys, hanging in the dark, turning, one after another, and something waiting behind them, waiting for me to open the last. Morales eased him back. He's out of it. Maya's phone buzzed again. A new line cut across the fractured screen. The fleet was only practice. The real gates are older, buried deeper. Her skin crawled. Older, where? She whispered. The phone vibrated harder, the letters flickering as though written in a rush. Under the chapel, midnight. She looked at Morales and Denise. Fear, tightening her throat. "The next fragment," she said. "It's waiting in the chapel." The chapel loomed on the far edge of campus, older than the rest of the college. Built in the 70s, but designed to look timeless, its stone facade hunched in shadow beneath a warped copper steeple. The bell inside hadn't rung in years, yet as they approached, Maya swore she heard it toll faintly, a low vibration sliding into her bones. "Midnight," she whispered, glancing at her phone. 11:53 p.m. The heavy oak doors stood slightly ajar. Light flickered within, not candlelight, not electric, but a strange pale shimmer, like moonlight trapped underwater. Denise held her taser close, knuckles white. "Tell me we're not walking in there." Morales adjusted his grip on the baton. "We don't have a choice." Maya stepped through first. The chapel smelled of dust and old varnish, but beneath it was a sharper odor, ozone and rust. The same scent that haunted the tunnels. Pews leaned crooked. Hymnals strewn across the floor. The shimmer radiated from the altar at the front, where a massive padlock dangled from the carved wooden lectern. It wasn't attached to anything. It simply hung there, suspended in the air, its shackle open but spinning slowly as though unseen fingers turned it. Each spin echoed through the hall. Click, 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 dra. Maya's phone buzzed. MHZ. The bell toll is the chain. Sever it before the lock closes. They looked up. The copper bell in the steeple swayed, though no rope touched it. The clapper twitching like a restless tongue. Each movement rattled the chapel, dust raining from the rafters. Morales swore under his breath. "If that thing rings..." The lock seals. Maya finished. The shimmer intensified. Shapes moved along the walls, stretching tall like figures cast in light, but with no bodies to make them. Their mouths gaped silently, all fixed on her. Denise hissed, "What do we do?" Maya's phone buzzed violently. Letters etched jagged on the screen. "Silence," the bell. The steeple ladder was bolted to the wall behind the altar. Halfrusted, vanishing into the shadows above. The padlock hovered inches from it, spinning faster now, each click syncing with the twitch of the bell's clapper. Maya shoved the phone into her pocket. "I'll go." Morales grabbed her arm. "No, you don't know what's up there." Her voice shook, but her resolve held. "It's always me it calls. If I don't, it won't stop." The bell shuddered again, louder this time, the sound scraping the marrow from their bones. Maya gritted her teeth, seized the ladder, and began to climb. The air grew colder the higher she went, every rung slick with condensation. The shadows pressed closer, the faint shapes stretching upward as if following. Halfway up, she glanced down. Morales and Denise were specks beneath her, flashlights weak against the glow. The padlock hovered inches from her back, spinning furiously now. The drag louder, longer. Click, click, click-da. She climbed faster, lungs burning. The bell loomed above, swaying harder now, its bronze sides etched with lines she hadn't seen before, key shapes, carved deep and glowing faint green. The clapper shifted, ready to strike. Maya lunged, wrapping both arms around it, weight dragging her forward. The metal burned her skin, but she clung tight, holding it still. The bell shrieked in protest, a sound not made of metal, but of voices hundreds layered, begging to be freed. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she couldn't reach it. She only heard the words inside her head. Break the chain. She realized it wasn't the bell she had to stop, it was the rope that once tied it. The frayed cord still hung, long and black with mildew, coiled near the steeple floor. It twitched faintly, like a snake ready to strike. "Maya," Morales shouted from below, "what do you see?" She clung tighter to the clapper, voice raw. "The rope. It's alive. It's alive." The rope writhed, coiling and uncoiling against the steeple floor like it had a pulse. It dragged itself inch by inch toward the bell, every movement scraping splinters from the wood. Maya clung to the clapper, sweat stinging her eyes, muscles shaking from the weight. "It's trying to pull the bell." Morales' voice echoed faintly up the ladder, then cut it. The rope slithered higher, brushing her ankle. It was slick with mildew, but beneath the rot, its fibers flexed like muscle. She gagged at the smell, sour and sweet, like meat left in the sun. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Somehow she knew what it said before she even pulled it free. The cracked screen glowed. "Sever the chain before it binds you." The rope snapped around her calf. Cold fire shot up her leg as it cinched tight, trying to drag her downward. She screamed and kicked, heel smashing against the wood. But the rope only tightened. Denise shouted from below. "Hold on." She raised her taser, aimed at the rope, and fired. The prongs buried deep. Electricity coursed up the fibers, sparks racing the length of it. The rope convulsed violently, loosening just enough for Maya to wrench her leg free. She gasped, clinging harder to the clapper. Again. Denise fired a second cartridge. Sparks exploded, showering the steeple with burning dust. The rope thrashed wildly, slamming itself against the beams like a dying snake. Maya seized her chance. She wrapped both arms around it and yanked upward. Teeth gritted, dragging the coiled slack over the beam. Then she looped it across the clapper and twisted until the fibers strained. Her hands bled against the rough hemp, but she pulled with everything she had. With a deafening snap, the rope split apart. The bell went still, silenced. The hovering padlock below shrieked like torn metal and collapsed inward, dissolving into ash before it hit the chapel floor. The shadows lining the walls screamed in silence, mouths stretching too wide. Before they evaporated into thin air, Maya clung to the clapper, body trembling. As the last echo faded, the chapel smelled only of dust again. Denise's voice trembled from below. "Did we do it?" Maya slid down the ladder, burned palms raw, eyes stinging with tears. She collapsed into a pew, gasping, "We did." Her phone buzzed in her lap. Fragment 6 severed, 7 remain, but now it hears the bell too. It knows you silenced it. The screen flickered once more before dimming, letters barely legible. "The next won't wait." Morales looked from Maya's bleeding hands to the cracked phone. 7, he said grimly, "and they're coming faster." The chapel doors slammed shut behind them, rattling in their frames. Something outside was already trying the locks. The chapel doors rattled as though fists or keys were hammering them from outside. Click, click, drag. Denise spun. Taser clutched tight. "We're trapped?" Morales shoved his shoulder against the oak. It didn't budge. Something's holding it shut. The air thickened, heavy with mildew and iron. The pews groaned as if weight pressed down on them. Wood fibers splintering in protest. Shadows flickered across the stained glass windows, bending the saints' faces into grotesque leers. Maya's phone buzzed in her lap. "It's already here, not outside, above." Her stomach lurched, slowly, She tilted her head upward. The copper steeple creaked. From within its shadows, something unfolded. Not the rope this time, something worse. A figure dangled upside down. Suspended from the beams by chains threaded through its skin, it swayed gently, like a pendulum. Its face was ruined, half melted, but its mouth worked. Dripping ink-black saliva, from its neck hung another tag, glinting faint under the chapel's pale light. M.H.Z.2. Maya whispered. It's another fragment nested here. The figure's mouth gaped wide, and the voices came. The bell was ours. You silenced it. Now you toll. The chains rattled, stretching toward her, links elongating like metal snakes. One lashed across a pew, splintering wood. Morales shoved Maya aside, button raised, but the chain snapped around his arm mid-swing. He roared in pain as it pulled tight, biting into his skin. Maya, he shouted, tag, do it now. The figure swung closer, chains pulling it like marionette strings. The tag glimmered faintly, dangling just above the center aisle. Denise aimed her taser and fired. The prongs struck a chain, sparks racing along its length. But instead of recoiling, the figure absorbed it. Its eyes flared bright white, grin widening as the chains whipped faster. It's feeding off the current, Denise gasped. Maya's phone buzzed violently, screen nearly cracking in her grip. Don't electrify. Break the weight. Chains need anchors. Her gaze darted upward. The figure wasn't hanging from the steeple beams directly. The chains threaded into a single iron ring bolted into the highest crossbeam, the anchor point. She scrambled toward the altar, ignoring the pews snapping under whipping chains. Morales. Hold it steady. He grunted, muscles straining as the chain bit deeper into his arm. Hurry. Maya leapt onto the altar, climbing the side beam, hands slipping on old varnish. She reached for the iron ring. It pulsed under her grip, hot as fresh-forged steel. The figure hissed below, chains rattling wildly. Do not break the anchor. Her palms burned, but she twisted, wrenching the iron ring back and forth. It groaned, wood around it splintering. Denise threw a hymnal at the figure to distract it. The book burst into ash mid-air. Now, Maya, Morales roared, blood running down his arm. She screamed, tearing with everything she had. The ring ripped free. The chains shrieked like living things, recoiling violently. The figure convulsed, mouth stretching wide in a soundless scream. Its tag snapped loose, clattering to the floor. The body crumbled into black ash, sucked upward into the steeple's rafters. The chapel went deathly still. The oak doors unlocked with a soft click. Maya collapsed to her knees, clutching the hot iron ring. Her palms seared raw. Her phone buzzed once more. Fragment 7 severed. 6 remain. The chain weakens, but it sees you clearer now. The screen flickered again. New words etched themselves slowly, like they were being carved into glass. Next, beneath the dorms, pipes, midnight water. They staggered out of the chapel into the midnight air, lungs dragging in deep gulps like they'd been underwater. The campus lay still too still. Not even cicadas sang now. Denise dabbed at Morales' arm with a torn sleeve, her hands shaking. That thing nearly gutted you. He gritted his teeth. I'm fine, just another scar. His eyes flicked to Maya. What about you? Her palms were blistered raw from the iron ring, skin ridged and torn. She flexed her fingers despite the pain. It doesn't matter. We don't have time. Morales scowled. You're bleeding. Maya, we need to stop regroup. Her phone buzzed before she could answer. Faint green across the cracked glass. There's no pause. If the dorm pipes open, it spreads through every faucet, every shower, every throat. Denise blanched. Oh my God, the students. Which dorms? Morales snapped. The screen blurred. Letters dripping across it like condensation. South Hall, basement pumps. The basement of South Hall was all concrete corridors and humming machinery, the smell of chlorine and rust clinging to the air. Pipes lined the ceiling like ribs. Sweating condensation. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, dim and stuttering. They crept down the narrow passage toward the pump room. The sound reached them, first water rushing in unnatural rhythm. Not a steady flow, not pressure release. Click, 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 drag. Maya's stomach dropped. The pipes themselves were making the rhythm. The pump room door was ajar. A puddle seeped out into the hallway. Black water rippling with faint green light. Morales nudged the door with his baton. It groaned open. Inside, the room was flooding. Pumps groaned against surging pressure, their casings bulging like swollen hearts. Water gushed from ruptured seals, spraying in arcs across the walls. And in the center, half submerged, was a girl, a resident. Her pajama pants clung to her legs, hair plastered across her face. She knelt in the rising water, both hands clutching a brass valve wheel. A tag dangled from it. M.H. Ita. Her eyes glowed faint green, water bubbling past her lips as though she were breathing it. Denise choked back a sob. She's one of mine. I checked her into housing last month. The girl's mouth opened wider. Water poured in. But she didn't drown. The chorus spoke through her instead. Every mouth a gate, every throat a lock. The pipes above them thudded in rhythm. Valves snapping open and shut like teeth. Maya's phone buzzed. If the pump primes, it will ride the water through every dorm, tear the tag. Her gaze locked on the brass valve wheel the girl clutched. It pulsed faintly, light leaking through its seams. Morales edged forward, but a spray of water lashed across his chest, throwing him back into the wall. The pipes twisted overhead, bending toward him like living things. The girl's grip tightened on the wheel. The pumps screamed, their bolts rattling loose. Maya splashed forward, water soaking her to the knees. I'm sorry, she whispered, reaching for the tag. The girl's head snapped up, hair peeling from her face. Her eyes were blank wells of green, her mouth opened wide. And in the layered chorus, it hissed, "Keep her." The girl's voice rattled the pipes, every word vibrating through the flooded room. Water surged higher, licking at Maya's thighs, filling the air with mildew and chlorine. The brass valve wheel pulsed brighter, veins of green light threading into the girl's arms. "Don't touch her," Morales shouted over the roar. He swung his baton at the nearest pipe. The blow dented the metal. But instead of releasing pressure, it howled an echoing shriek that bounced along the corridor, summoning more surges. The girl turned her head toward him, mouth gaping. Water poured out as she hissed, every pipe, every vein. The flood rose another inch. Pews of bubbles erupted along the valves, as if the building itself was inhaling. Maya's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She fumbled it out with wet hands. Across the fractured screen, words bled like algae. "The wheel is the tag. Turn it the wrong way. Force the seal to break." Her throat tightened. "It's not just tearing it. We have to twist it." Denise splashed beside him, pale under the stuttering fluorescence. "If we break that wheel, This whole pump could explode. Maya stared at the girl. Her knuckles were white around the brass. Water spilling through her fingers. If we don't, the dorms will drown in this thing. She waited closer. The girl's eyes locked on her, unblinking. The chorus of voices hissed through clenched teeth. Keep her. Turn. Open. Maya seized the wheel with both hands. The girl shrieked. Strength shocking for her size. Yanking back, their grips battled, muscles straining. The brass burned against Maya's blistered palms, the heat pushing deeper into her bones. "Help me," she cried. Morales grabbed the wheel from the other side. Together they forced it against the girl's pull, wrenching it counter to its natural flow. The pipes above wailed, buckling in protest. The girl's mouth stretched too wide, jaw cracking as she screamed. Water erupted from her throat in a geyser, spraying the ceiling. "Now," Maya shouted. With a final heave, they turned the wheel hard left. The brass shrieked, splitting down the middle. The tag snapped off, clattering into the water. Instantly, the pumps roared one last time and then fell silent. The green glow guttered out. The flood stilled, water sloshing quietly around their knees. The girl collapsed, limp, coughing up a stream of foul water. Her eyes fluttered, no longer glowing. She gasped, voice hoarse and small. "Help me." Maya hauled her up, clutching her tight as the broken tag dissolved into black ash in the water. Her phone buzzed, faint and weak as if drowned. Fragment 8 severed. 5 remain. Maya sagged with relief, but before she could breathe, another message etched itself, jagged and rushed. The water carried echoes. "It knows your face now." She looked at her reflection in the shallow flood, warped, rippling. Her own mouth moved out of sync, and just before the water stilled completely, she swore it whispered her name back. Mayaya. The flood drained slowly through floor grates, leaving behind streaks of slime and the copper tang of rust. Maya held the girl upright, her thin body trembling like a soaked rag doll. Denise crouched to check her pulse, lips tight with relief. She'll live. Whatever it was, it's gone from her. Morales leaned against the wall, soaked to the chest, baton still clutched in his hand. His voice was rough. 5 fragments left, and they're not waiting days anymore. Minutes. Maybe. Maya's phone buzzed faintly in her pocket, the cracked screen glowing through the water-smeared glass. "The chain is quickening. The more you sever, the louder it calls." Her stomach twisted. "So every time we break one, the rest stir faster." The words shifted, rewriting themselves before her eyes. "But if you don't break them, the chain completes. 13 turns, 1 gate." Denise swore under her breath, slamming her taser cartridge against her thigh. "So, it's damned if we do. Damned if we don't." The girl groaned weakly in Maya's arms, her lips parted, water dribbling out, barely audible. She whispered. "Voices, under the pipes," they said. "Chapel bell was only the first sound. Next will come from the earth." Her eyes rolled back, unconscious again. Maya exchanged a look with Morales. She heard it too. Before he could answer, the phone buzzed again. The ground beneath the stadium. Concrete remembers. Midnight bleeds into dawn. Maya's breath caught. The stadium, the largest structure on campus. A concrete bowl that seated 10,000. Its foundations went deeper than any other building, if the fragments rooted there. Morales read the screen, jaw clenching. If it takes the stadium, that's not just a dorm pipe or a chapel bell. That's a mass grave waiting to open. Denise's face went pale in the dim pump room light. Then we don't wait until dawn. We end it before it starts. Maya slid the phone back into her pocket, though the glow still pulsed faintly through the denim like a second heartbeat. Her palms ached. Blisters rough. But she tightened her fists anyway. Then the stadium, she said, her voice hollow with exhaustion and fear, before it claims anyone else. As they climbed the flooded stairs back to the surface, the pipes rattled once behind them. Click, 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 drag-like laughter fading into the walls. Maya didn't look back. The stadium at night was a cavernous silhouette against the stars. Konkrete ripsjutting uppvard. Floodlights dead. The wind moved through its empty seats like whispers through a crypt. Maya's phone buzzed once more as they approached the locked gate. Fragment 9 waits in the foundations. Do not let it toll the crowd. She froze, staring up at the dark bowl of concrete. For a moment she swore she saw the stands full thousands of shadow figures seated silently, heads turning in unison to face her. Her phone pulsed again. It already knows you're coming. The stadium gate groaned as Morales forced it open with his shoulder. Metal squealed, echoing into the hollow bowl beyond. The air inside was damp, stale, carrying the sour tang of rust and old sweat. They stepped onto the concourse, flashlights cutting across shuttered concession stands and dark banners swaying faintly in the breeze. Maya's pulse hammered. Every shadow in the stands looked like someone watching. Denise muttered, "Feels like walking into a grave." Maya's phone buzzed, the cracked glass glowing faint green. Beneath the bleachers, concrete hollow, follow the sound of the crowd. And then she heard it, faint at first. Like a radio left on low, voices chanting in rhythm. Not words, just the cadence of locks turning. Click, 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 drag. Thousands of voices layered into a hollow roar. They descended through a maintenance stairwell. The deeper they went, the heavier the air grew, as though the stadium pressed down on them with its weight. Pipes lined the narrow halls, sweating condensation, dripping onto the concrete. The chanting grew louder. They emerged into a cavernous space beneath the seats, the foundation crawl, wide enough for service carts. Walls etched with water stains. In the center stood a figure. At first, Maya thought it was a man, another keeper, but as her beam settled, she realized it was taller. Wrong. Its limbs were carved of concrete, rebar jutting like veins, cracks spiderwebbed across its body. Each fissure glowing faint green. From its chest hung a massive tag, fused into the concrete itself, M.H. Theta. The thing's mouth opened, a jagged line splitting stone. The roar of the phantom crowd burst forth. We remember. We wait. We open. The walls trembled, dust cascading from the ceiling. Cracks crawled up the pillars that held the stadium aloft. Morales cursed. If this thing brings the foundations down, it'll bury the campus. Denise finished. Maya's phone buzzed violently. The tag is the heart. Rebar binds it. Snap the steel. And the concrete falls silent. Her eyes darted to the figure's chest. The tag pulsed within a cage of rusted rebar, glowing brighter with every chant. "Break the rebar," she shouted. The thing moved then, steps like earthquakes, each footfall cracking the floor. Its voice roared, "Keeper, come to the crowd." The phantom chanting swelled, deafening. Morales swung his baton at a jutting bar. The steel rang, barely dented. The creature swung a concrete arm, slamming him against the wall. He grunted, crumpling to his knees. "Maya," Denise cried. firing her taser at the chest. Sparks flared but skittered harmlessly across stone. The figure lumbered closer. The crowd's roar vibrating Maya's skull. Her phone buzzed one last time. The letters jagged, frantic. Use via heat breaks steel. Her gaze darted to the service cart against the wall torches. Propane tanks. A welder's kit. She whispered. Of course. The figure's shadow fell over her. Cracks split wider across its chest. The tag glowing like a furnace heart. Maya sprinted for the cart. Maya skidded against the service cart, nearly toppling it. Her blistered hands fumbled with the welder's torch. The valve stiff with rust behind her. The concrete giant thundered closer, each step rattling the foundations like a drumbeat. Morales, she shouted, distracted, groaning. Morales staggered upright, baton still in hand. He swung it hard against a pillar. The crack echoing like a gunshot. The thing's jagged head turned. The phantom crowd roaring in response. For a second, it lurched toward him instead. Denise shoved the propane tank closer to Maya. Face pale, but determined. Tell me you know how to use that. Maya twisted the valve open. Sparks flying as she struck the igniter. A stream of flame hissed into existence, searing hot, filling the air with the stink of burning dust. The creature bellowed, its concrete chest split wider, the tag pulsing brighter MH theta glowing like molten brass. Maya charged. Torch outstretched. The rebar cage around the tag screamed as the flame licked it. Steel glowed red, then orange. Hairline fractures spiderwebbing across its surface. The phantom voices roared in unison. Keeper, turn, open. The thing swung one massive arm, Maya Dove, rolling across the cracked floor. The torch sputtering in her grip. The impact shattered a support beam, where she had stood, debris crashing down in a cloud of dust. Denise darted in, hurling a loose brick at the creature's head. Over here, Bastard. The giant reeled, momentarily distracted. Maya scrambled back to the chest, torch blazing hotter now. The rebar glowed white, sagging under the heat. She screamed, shoving the flame directly into the cage, ignoring the heat blistering her face. The steel snapped. The crowd's roar cut off instantly. The figure froze, fissures racing up its limbs, with a sound like stone screaming. Its body crumbled, slabs collapsing inward. The glowing tag clattered to the ground, pulsing faintly before shattering into black dust. Silence. The phantom stands above them vanished, leaving only the groaning of settling concrete. Maya staggered back, torch falling from her hand. Her phone buzzed weakly, screen cracked beyond recognition but still glowing. Fragment nine severed, fu remain. Denise bent over, coughing in the dust. God, I can't how much more of this. Morales leaned against a pillar, blood trickling from his temple. We're past halfway. We finish it. We don't stop now. Maya's phone buzzed again. The letters jagged, etched like scars. The next waits where roots drink deep, beneath the greenhouse. Dawn. Maya shivered. She knew the greenhouse, a sprawling structure on the edge of campus. Glass cracked, its irrigation system always flooding the soil. She whispered, earth and water, now roots. And for a split second, in the dust swirling around the broken rebar, she thought she heard it whisper back, Maya. By the time they reached the greenhouse, the first edges of dawn were bleeding pale pink over the horizon. The sprawling glass house crouched on the edge of campus, panes cracked, its frame sagging like a ribcage. Morning mist clung to the ground, thick with the damp, earthy stink of overwatered soil. Maya's phone buzzed as they crossed the weed-choked path. The fractured screen glowed faintly. Roots hold chains. Fragment 10 grows below. Denise muttered. Perfect, after tunnels, bells, and pipes. Now it's plants. What's next? The damn vending machines? Her laugh came out hollow, sharp with exhaustion. They pushed through the greenhouse doors. Inside, humidity wrapped around them like a damp shroud. Rows of planters stretched beneath fractured glass, soil bulging upward in strange mounds. The air buzzed not with insects, but with a low hum, like the vibration of wires strung too tight. Maya froze. The hum wasn't random. It was rhythmic. Click, 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 drag. The sound came from beneath the soil. A planter near the center quivered, dirt heaving as though something beneath it shifted. Then roots burst through the soil, thick and pale, writhing like worms. They coiled upward, tangling together into a grotesque shape. A human torso formed entirely of roots, dripping black water from its tangled mass. From its chest dangled a brass tag, swinging on a twisted root strand, M.H. iota. The root figure's head tilted, eyes opening as hollow knots in the wood. The layered chorus seeped out, damp and wet. Every root a chain, every chain a door. The surrounding planters quivered. Roots split their soil, pale tendrils slithering across the floor, reaching for ankles. Morales swung his baton, chopping through one. It bled black water, shrieking like a severed cord. Denise's Tesa cracked, sparks lighting the greenhouse. The roots flinched, but new tendrils surged to replace them. Maya's phone buzzed, words forming in dripping green letters. The root is the anchor. Burn the soil. Starve it. Her eyes darted to a rusting fuel can near the irrigation pumps. Kerosene, probably left behind for old heaters. I see it, she shouted. She splashed through the muck, grabbing the can. Her blistered hand slipped on the cap, but she forced it open, the fumes burning her nose. The root figure reared higher, its arms stretching into tangled whips. One lashed across the glass roof, shattering panes. Shards rained down, slicing through the air. Morales shielded his face, yelling, Mayano. She doused the central planter. The soil hissed as the kerosene soaked in, the roots writhing violently. Denise fired her taser into the puddle. The greenhouse erupted in fire. Flames raced through the soil, devouring the pale roots. The figure screamed, its voice a wet gurgle that shook the panes. It thrashed, but its body collapsed inward, turning black, curling into ash. The tag clattered to the ground, glowing briefly before splitting in two. The hum ceased. The remaining roots shriveled, crumbling to dust. The fire sputtered out quickly, leaving only the stink of scorched soil and glass. Maya dropped to her knees, gasping. Her phone buzzed. Letters etched like char. Fragment 10 severed. 3 remain. The chain weakens. The ground stirs. Denise's voice shook. 3 left. Just 3. But the phone buzzed again. Violently this time. The words burned across the screen, darker than before. The last 3 will not scatter. They will rise together. Maya's heart clenched. Together? Where? The reply seared into the glass like a brand. The library. Noon. The library loomed at the heart of campus like a fortress. its square bulk blotting out the early sun. Normally, it was Maya's refuge, the quiet hum of lights, the smell of paper and glue. Now, as they approached, every window looked blackened, reflecting nothing. Her phone buzzed before they reached the steps. The cracked screen flickered violently. The last 3 fragments have gathered. They feed each other now. Noon is the lock. Denise stopped dead. All 3? In there? Morales clenched his jaw, baton in hand. Then we end this. No more fragments after today. Maya's stomach turned. The thought of walking into that building, her building, made her knees weak. But if the chain finished here, there'd be no campus left, maybe no town. They pushed through the heavy glass doors. Inside, silence. The atrium was deserted, though books lay scattered across the floor, their pages fluttering in an invisible draft. The air stank of mildew and dust, tinged with the copper bite Maya had learned to fear. Click, 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 drag. The rhythm pulsed through the stacks. Not from one place, but everywhere. Lights flickered overhead in sync. They followed the sound deeper into the library. The main reading room yawned open ahead, sunlight stabbing through tall windows onto rows of long tables. At the center stood 3 figures. One was a student, arms stitched with black veins. Another looked like a faculty member, glasses cracked, jaw twitching too wide. The third was worse, a shape not quite human, formed from slats of broken shelving and pages fused into flesh. Each bore a tag glowing faintly: MH Kappa, MH Lambda, MH Mu. Their voices blended into the air, echoing like an entire crowd. 13 turns, the gate opens, 1 keeper remains. The ground shook, books toppled from shelves. The great clock above the atrium ticked closer to noon. Maya's phone buzzed. She almost didn't look, but forced herself. You cannot sever them one by one. They've braided. Break the chain itself. Her pulse raced. The chain, not the tags. What the hell does that mean? Morales shouted over the rising roar. The 3 figures stepped forward in unison, each click of their heels syncing with the clock above. Denise's taser crackled weakly. Maya, we're out of time. What do we do? Her phone buzzed again, the letters jagged and smeared. The first ledger, Alpha's hand, tear it. Maya's breath caught. Torrin's ledger, the one in her office. She staggered back, heart hammering. The ledger, it started everything. If we destroy it, the whole chain breaks. The clock tolled once. The sound reverberated like a lock snapping shut. The figures' voices rose in chorus. Keeper, open. Maya turned to Morales and Denise, eyes wide. We have to get back to my office, now. But the atrium doors slammed behind them with a thunderous click. The figures moved closer, tags burning brighter. The second toll rang out. Noon was almost here. The second toll rattled the glass of the atrium windows. Dust sifted down from the high beams like the whole library was preparing to collapse. The 3 figures advanced in unison, each dragging 1 step, their glowing tags swinging like pendulums. Maya's mind raced. The ledger, Torrin's ledger. If the phone was right, that was the route the first name signed, the seed of the chain. But her office was on the far side of the building, and the atrium doors were sealed tight. Morales braced his baton across his chest. If we can't run, we fight. Denise's voice cracked. Fight what? Morales? They're not even human anymore. The clock struck a 3rd time. The figures' voices swelled with it. A chorus that vibrated in Maya's ribs. 13 turns, 1 keeper, 1 gate. Maya's phone buzzed violently. nearly sparking in her hand. Letters clawed across the screen as if etched by knives. The ledger is ink and paper. They are its echoes. Tear any page. And the whole chain bleeds. Her chest seized. Any page? She didn't need the whole ledger, just one. Her eyes darted around the atrium. Scattered across the floor were dozens of books. Pages fluttering. The air itself seemed to hum with their weight, as if every bound paper carried a piece of the chain now. Denise followed her gaze. Maya. Don't tell me... Yes, her voice cracked. We tear the words out of existence. The clock struck a fourth time. The figures shrieked. Lunging forward, their limbs moved like broken marionettes. Too sharp. Too fast. Morales swung his baton, smashing one across the jaw. It staggered, but did not fall. Denise fired her taser. The prongs sparking against a student's chest, no effect. Maya dropped to her knees. Clawing at a fallen book, she tore a page free. The sound that followed wasn't paper ripping, it was locks snapping. The three figures shrieked in unison, their glowing tags dimming for a moment. It worked, Maya shouted. Keep tearing. She ripped another page. The chorus faltered. The faculty figure staggered, clutching its chest. Morales kicked over a stack of books, tossing one to her. Denise snatched another, tearing pages with wild, frantic motions. Each rip rang like a chain breaking. The figures convulsed, their voices breaking into static. The clock struck a fifth time. The shelves groaned, books toppling in cascades as though the library itself was trying to feed her more weapons. Maya ripped page after page. Hence, Rolf. Ink smearing her skin. With every tear, the tags on the figures cracked, brass splitting down the middle. At the sixth toll, one shattered completely. The student collapsed into ash. At the seventh toll, the faculty figure dissolved, its scream echoing through the rafters. Only the monstrous thing of shelves and pages remained, its body writhing with hundreds of tags fused together. The clock prepared to toll again. Maya's phone buzzed. Letters jagged and final. Tear the first name. Alpha. End it. Her heart froze. The ledger. Torin's signature. She looked up at Morales and Denise, desperation in her eyes. We have to get to my office. The ledger's still there. The monstrous figure shrieked, lunging forward, its 100 mouths opening as one. The eighth toll rang out. The eighth toll thundered through the atrium, shaking dust loose in thick curtains. The shelf creature surged forward, pages flapping like wings, its 100 mouths gasping the rhythm of locks. Click, click, click-drag. Morales swung his baton against its side. Splinters flew. But the thing only reformed, books snapping shut around the dent like teeth closing. We can't hold this thing much longer, he shouted. Denise hurled her empty taser at its head. Voice raw. Maya. If the ledger's the key, then go. Maya's eyes darted toward the mezzanine, a side stairwell if she sprinted. She could reach her office before the final tolls. She clenched her blistered hands around the torn pages still clinging to her palms. Buy me time. Morales grabbed the creature's arm, straining to hold it back. Move. Maya bolted. Boots slapping the cracked tile. The atrium stretched behind her in a blur of screams, roars, and the relentless toll of the clock. She reached the stairwell, lungs burning. The ninth toll struck, vibrating the metal railings. Her office lay just beyond the hall door, hanging half open, the file box still spilled across her desk. Inside, the ledger waited, Her hands shook as she grabbed it. The pages felt damp, almost alive. Shivering beneath her grip, she flipped wildly until she saw it. The first entry, the careful block letters. Torrin Wells. Her phone buzzed so violently it nearly leapt from her pocket. The cracked screen glowed with burning letters. Tear his name. The chain ends. The 10th toll rang out. From the atrium below, she heard Morales and Denise scream, cut off by the roar of the shelf creature. Maya stared at Torrin's name. Ink carved deep as if pressed by a heavy hand. Her fingers trembled, blood from her blistered palms smearing the page. She clutched the spine in both hands. "Please, let this end it," she whispered. And tore. The page ripped straight through the name. The effect was instant. The clock stopped mid-toll. The 11th chime silenced. The air in the library collapsed inward, pulling like a vacuum. Every book in the building screamed, pages ripping themselves free, ink streaming into the air in black rivers. The shelf creature below wailed, its 100 mouths tearing open before imploding into ash. The roar faded into silence. Maya fell to her knees, the torn page limp in her hand. The ledger crumbled, spine-splitting, pages disintegrating into dust that swirled around her like smoke. Her phone buzzed one final time. The chain is broken. The gate stays shut. Her chest seized. Tears blurred her vision. It's over. She staggered to her feet, heart pounding, and stumbled back into the atrium. The shelves lay in ruins. Ash drifted across the tiles. Morales and Denise stood, battered but alive, staring at the collapse around them. "You did it," Morales rasped. The sound had stopped. Denise laughed, choked and broken. "God. Maya, I thought we were dead." Maya clutched the shredded page to her chest. Her hands shook. But for the first time in days, the silence held. No clicks, no drags, just silence. Until her phone buzzed again. The words on the cracked screen were faint, almost hesitant. Chains break, but keys remain. The words on the cracked screen bled faintly, as if written in fading ink. Chains break, but keys remain. Maya's throat closed. She wanted to hurl the phone across the room, bury it under the mountain of ash that used to be the chain, but her blistered hands only tightened around it. Denise stepped closer, voice trembling. "What does that mean? We ended it." "Didn't we?" Morales scanned the ruined atrium, jaw tight. "We ended something." He pointed to the shattered clock overhead. But that didn't fall by accident. It stopped on the 10th toll. Maya's stomach sank. It should have gone to 13. The silence pressed heavy, then faint. Click, 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 drag. It didn't come from the walls, or the pipes, or the ash swirling on the floor. It came from beneath them, deep, resonant, like something turning in the foundation of the earth. The phone buzzed again, violently enough that cracks spidered across the screen. New words carved themselves through the glow. "You severed the chain, but you woke the keeper of the keys." The floor trembled. Bookshelves toppled like dominoes. A fissure split down the center of the atrium, belching dust and the stink of mildew. Denise staggered back, eyes wide. "Oh my God, it's still here." From the crack, something rose. Not rope, not roots, not stone. Keys, thousands of them, blackened and rusted, bound together into a writhing mass. They clicked as they moved, the sound echoing like a chorus of locks. The mass coalesced, forming a towering figure with a skull of jagged keys and limbs that rattled with every motion. From its chest swung a single tag larger than the rest, gleaming like gold in the dust. MH Omega. The voices that spilled from it weren't the layered whispers of fragments. They were singular, whole, deep enough to rattle the marrow in Maya's bones. You broke the chains. Now the gate is mine to open. Morales raised his baton, though his hands shook. That's it. That's the final one. Maya's phone buzzed once more. A jagged scream of letters. Noon was the chain. Omega is the key. If it turns, there is no closing. The cracks widened beneath the figure. Keys poured into them like rivers of metal, twisting deeper into the ground. Denise's face went pale in the dim light. Maya, if it's the key, how do we stop it? The phone flickered. Screen nearly dead. Keys only turn in locks. Find the lock. Break it first. Maya's gaze darted to the fissure beneath the creature. The earth itself trembled with the rhythm of locks turning. Something was waiting below, something ready to open. Her voice came out hoarse, but steady. The lock is under us. If we don't break it before Omega turns. The figure's skull tilted, thousands of keys clattering as it stretched its arms wide. Keeper, the gate opens through you. The 11th toll began. The 11th toll reverberated through the shattered atrium, vibrating the very air. The key figure spread its arms wide, rusted keys cascading off its body like rain, clattering against the cracked tile. The sound was unbearable, every click a promise of something immense stirring below. Morales stumbled back. Teeth gritted. We can't fight that thing head on. Denise shook her head, panic rising in her voice. It is the lock now. Look at it, it's connected to everything. Maya's phone buzzed again. Its screen fractured beyond recognition, but still alive. Not the lock. The lock is older, buried beneath the foundation. You must break what it wants to open. Her chest tightened. She looked at the widening fissure under the figure's feet. From the crack, she saw movement, not keys, but something beyond something vast, shifting just under the surface, like an eye turning. The lock's beneath us, she whispered. Whatever it's trying to open, we have to destroy it before Omega turns. The key figure's voice rolled like thunder. The gate is older than you, older than stone, older than names. You are only the keeper. You will open. It slammed one massive arm down. The floor fractured further, sending Morales and Denise sprawling. Maya staggered, nearly dropping the phone. How do we break a lock that big? The answer carved itself slowly, like burning letters etched across her ruined screen. Not with fire, not with steel, with memory. Locks hold stories. Tear the story free. Her breath caught. The ledger was only one story. But what if the whole library is the lock? She looked around at the ruins. Thousands of books, all trembling faintly in unison. Ink bleeding out of torn pages into the fissure below. The library wasn't just a building. It was the vault, the lock. Maya, Denise cried, pointing at the clock above. The 12th toll was rising, gathering like a wave about to crash. The key figure tilted its skull of rusted keys, thousands of points glinting. It raised its arms again, ready to drive them into the earth. Maya clutched the phone, words tumbling out before she could think. If the lock is the library, then we destroy the library. Morales turned, ash and sweat streaking his face. Blow it sky high, you'll bring the whole place down on us. Her phone buzzed again. Faint but urgent. One story is enough. Tear the first story that was ever shelved here. The foundation text. The library's seed. Maya's eyes widened. She knew it. Every librarian at the college did. the first book ever cataloged. Set in the cornerstone display case upstairs, the Book of Hours. A medieval manuscript Torin had donated years ago. The 12th toll thundered. The fissure split wide. Hot wind blasting from below, carrying whispers that rattled every bone in her body. She steadied herself, blood pounding in her ears. It's upstairs, the Book of Hours. Denise's eyes went wide. You think ripping that will stop this? Maya looked up at Omega, the final tag gleaming, the keys rattling louder. Her voice was hoarse but steady. It's the only shot we've got. The 13th toll began. The 13th toll rolled out like the world's final heartbeat. The key figure, Omega, spread its arms wide. The clattering of thousands of rusted keys drowning out everything else. From the fissure below, a hot wind roared upward, reeking of mildew and earth like something vast inhaling before it rose. Maya bolted for the mezzanine stairs. "Cover me," she screamed. Her voice nearly lost under the toll. Morales staggered to his feet, blood running from his temple. "Go." He swung his baton into Omega's leg of writhing keys. The impact barely dented it, but the distraction bought her 3 precious steps. Denise grabbed a fallen length of splintered shelf and hurled it at Omega's chest. "Come on, you bastard." The key skull turned toward her, rattling like a storm of chains. But Maya didn't look back. She charged up the stairs 2 at a time. Lungs burning, feet slipping on dust and shattered glass. The mezzanine groaned beneath her. Above, the display case sat like an altar. The Book of Hours inside, its gold leaf cover glimmered faintly even through the smoke, untouched by the ruin around it. Her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She pulled it out. The cracked screen flickering with frantic words. "Tear it before the 13th toll ends, or the lock opens." She smashed the glass case with her elbow, shards biting into her skin. The manuscript was heavier than it looked, the leather cover warm in her hands, almost pulsing. Pages fluttered as if resisting her. Below, Omega roared, its voice like a cathedral collapsing. The lock turns, the gate opens, the keeper breaks. Denise screamed as a wave of keys lashed toward her. Morales shoved her out of the way, the swarm knocking him hard against a column. Maya flipped open the Book of Hours. The script was hand-done, Latin ink curling across vellum. Her fingers shook as she found the first page, the opening prayer. The seed of the library's collection. She tore. The sound was not paper ripping. It was stone splitting, chains screaming. The fissure below shrieked, a chorus of locks snapping out of rhythm. Omega reeled, its body of keys thrashing wildly, pieces breaking off in showers of rust. Maya tore another page, sobbing with the effort. The ink dissolved into black smoke that drifted upward, vanishing. The 13th toll reached its peak, then shattered. The bell's final note broke into silence so absolute it pressed against her eardrums. Omega skreamet. The golden tag on its chest splitting in 2. The mass of keys collapsed inward, rattling to the floor in a flood of rust and ash. The fissure sealed shut. The hot wind snuffed out. Silence. Maya fell to her knees on the mezzanine, clutching the half-torn manuscript. Her chest heaved. Tears blurred her vision. Below, Morales staggered upright, battered but alive. Denise collapsed beside him, staring at the ruin in disbelief. It's over," Denise whispered. Maya wanted to believe it, but in her pocket, the phone buzzed once more, weak, almost dead. "The lock is gone," The chain is broken. The key is dust. She exhaled, relief washing through her until the words shifted. But the keeper remains. Her reflection in the broken case glass didn't move with her. It only stared back, smiling faintly. Maya froze. Her reflection in the shattered display glass tilted its head at a fraction too slow, lips curling into a smile that wasn't hers. She staggered back, clutching the ruined book of hours. No. It's done. I ended it. The phone buzzed faintly in her pocket, the last glow bleeding through cracks in the glass. Chains can be broken. Locks can be shattered. Keys can be dust. The letters smeared, reforming. But a keeper is chosen, not destroyed. Her pulse hammered. The reflection in the glass reached out, palm pressed against the inside as if it were touching a window. Its mouth moved. And though she heard nothing, she knew the word. Maya. Down below. Morales steadied himself against a toppled pillar, watching her. Maya, what's happening? Denise's voice cracked, raw with fear. She's not okay, Morales. Look at her face. Maya clutched her head. Whispers crawled through her skull, echoing like the fragments had, but deeper now, singular, focused. They didn't come from the air. They came from inside. Keeper, the gate needs you still. She dropped the book of hours. It crumbled into ash in her lap. No, she whispered. I won't. Her reflection pressed harder against the broken glass, cracked spiderwebbing further. Then, click, 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 drag. Not outside, not below, inside her chest. Her heartbeat stuttered into the rhythm. Morales took the stairs 2 at a time, reaching her side. He gripped her shoulders, shaking her. Maya, stay with us. Whatever this is, fight it. Denise scrambled up behind him, eyes wild. She is the keeper now. Don't you see? It jumped into her when we destroyed Omega. Maya's vision blurred. The atrium melted at the edges, replaced with the sensation of standing before something enormous, an unseen gate stretching wider than the sky. Beyond it, whispers writhed like ocean tides. Her reflection's voice coiled inside her skull, calm and certain. They broke the chain for you. They shattered the lock for you. Now only you can open the way. She screamed, the sound raw, tearing her throat. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the mezzanine floor. Its screen flickered once more with dying light. Fight it or claim it. There is no third path. Morales gripped her tighter. Maya, listen to me. Don't you dare let it take you. Denise raised her trembling hands, voice hoarse. And if she can't fight it? The atrium groaned. Dust sifted down. Somewhere deep inside Maya's chest, something turned, one click closer to opening. The sound in Maya's chest grew louder. Click, 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 drag. Her heart beat in time with it, every pulse hammering against her ribs like the tumblers of a lock falling into place. Morales shook her harder, desperation cutting through his usually even tone. Maya, look at me. You're still here. Don't let it take you. Denise clutched the splintered length of shelf like a weapon, but her eyes brimmed with horror. Morales, if she is the lock now, then the only way to stop it might be. She didn't finish. Maya's head snapped toward her, though she hadn't willed it. Her lips parted, and a voice deeper than her own rolled out. Break the chain. Break the lock. But the keeper remains. She is the gate now. Her own voice fought beneath it, ragged and terrified. Stop. That's not me. The reflection in the glass below still smiled, palm pressed flat as if waiting for her to step through. She felt it tugging at her thoughts, pulling her toward that endless gate. Behind it, Whispers like waves promised an end to the struggle. Her phone, lying shattered on the mezzanine floor, buzzed one last time. The glow barely held, but the words carved across the cracked screen were clear. One choice left: seal yourself or surrender. Her vision blurred with tears. Seal myself? Denise's voice broke through the haze, sharp and raw. Maya, you told us before. Chains were stories, locks were stories. Maybe so is this. If it's in you, then you can tear it out the same way. Morales nodded, his grip firm on her shoulders. She's right. It's using you as its story. Don't let it write you into it. The pressure in Maya's chest built, unbearable. Her heartbeat clattered like keys falling into place. With each click, she saw the gate flash behind her eyes, massive, ancient, waiting. The keeper's voice boomed inside her. Open. Be what you were chosen to be. Maya's voice cracked, screaming through clenched teeth. I am not yours. She clawed at her chest, fingers digging into her skin as though she could tear the rhythm out by force. The ash of the Book of Hours swirled around her, clinging to her hands, staining them black. Hefon Fliegel. The last message bleeding across the screen. Tear your own name. End the story. Her heart stuttered. She knew what it meant. Her name was in the library system, in the ledger, in every record she'd touched. She was the last entry now, the keeper. If she tore herself from the story, if she let herself end, would it stop the gate from ever opening? Morales' grip tightened, reading her eyes. No, don't even think it. We'll find another way. Denise's voice shook, barely above a whisper. What if there isn't another way? The reflection in the glass smiled wider, lips forming the words she already knew were coming. Turn. Keeper. Open. The rhythm in her chest clicked again, louder. Closer. One more turn, and the gate would open. Maya's whole body convulsed with the rhythm in her chest. Click, click, drag. Her heart was no longer her own. It was the sound of a lock nearly finished. The final tumbler waiting to fall. Denise raised the splintered shelf, as if she might drive it through Maya's chest. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold it. If that thing opens through her, Morales, the whole world goes with it. Moral snarled, stepping between them. You're not touching her, not unless she says so. The mezzanine groaned beneath their weight. Ash from the destroyed Book of Hours swirled around Maya, clinging to her hair and skin until she looked like part of the ruins. She barely felt Morales' grip anymore. The presence inside her drowned everything else out. Keeper, your name is the last chain. Tear it. And we step through. Her reflection in the shattered glass below mouthed the words in unison, its smile growing impossibly wide. Maya gasped, forcing her voice through the weight crushing her chest. If I tear myself out, it ends. That's what it wants me to do. Her phone flickered with one last line before its light died for good. Not what it wants, what you choose. Morales shook her, eyes fierce. Maya, you're not alone. You don't have to carry this yourself. Denise lowered the makeshift weapon slightly, tears streaking her soot-stained face. If sealing yourself means killing yourself, I can't watch you do it. The 12th toll echoed in her ribs. Time was almost gone. Maya looked between them, at her ruined phone, at the reflection waiting below. Her heartbeat stumbled, dragging itself toward that final turn. And she made her choice. She tore her name. Her scream ripped through the atrium as though her soul were shredding. Her hand moved without hesitation, clawing the air as if tearing through parchment, and she felt it. The weight of her name written in countless ledgers, rosters, records. Maya Hernandez. Every letter burned in her chest. She ripped it free. The world convulsed. The reflection below shattered into shards of light. Omega's ash rose in a column, shrieking, then scattered like dust in a hurricane. The fissures sealed with a thunderous crack. The whispers behind the gate cut off mid-word, leaving silence so sudden it rang in her skull. Then stillness. Maya collapsed into Morales' arms, chest heaving. Her skin burned where her name had been torn. But the lock rhythm was gone. No more clicks, no more drag, only silence. Denise dropped the shelf, sobbing. She did it. My God. She did it. Morales cradled her carefully. You're okay. You're still here. But Maya's voice was faint, almost absent. Am I? Without a name, what am I now? The ash swirling in the air seemed to hesitate, as if waiting for an answer. The campus above was unrecognizable. As they staggered out of the library ruins, dawn light revealed shattered windows, cracked pavement, and silence where the phantom crowds had once been. For the first time in days, there was no hum beneath their feet, no clicking in the air, only the faint rustle of wind through broken glass. Denise kept glancing at Maya like she expected her to vanish. You don't feel like yourself anymore. Maya walked slowly, feeling her skin crawl with emptiness. The world recognized her body, but not her existence. No ID card would scan. No records would call her up. She was a ghost. Morales stayed close, his battered face set with grim resolve. Doesn't matter. You're alive. That's enough. But Maya wasn't sure. Without her name, she felt like a hollow ledger, blank pages waiting to be filled. And sometimes, when the wind shifted just right, she swore she heard faint whispers scratching at the edges of her mind. That night, they holed up in an undamaged classroom. Denise patched Morales' wounds with shaking hands while Maya sat apart, staring at her blistered palms. She kept trying to say her own name aloud, but the sound caught in her throat like it didn't belong to her anymore. When she finally whispered, "Maya," the air flickered, like heat waves rising from asphalt. The reflection from the shattered display glass appeared faintly in the window. No smile this time, just waiting. She clenched her fists. "You don't own me." But the reflection mouthed back, "You are me." Denise saw the glass shimmer and nearly dropped the bandages. "It's not gone, is it?" Maya shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "I tore my name out of the story, but that means it still has a place to write itself in." Morales looked at her long and hard. "Then we make sure it never does. The following days were strange. The campus was evacuated. Officials blaming a structural collapse in the library. Students left in waves, carrying rumors of accidents and gas leaks. None of them remembered the fragments, the keys, the chants. Only Maya, Morales, and Denise carried the truth. But Maya could feel it, the absence where her name had been carved out. She dreamed of locks turning in her chest. She dreamed of the gate yawning wide. One night, she woke to find the ledger ash spread across her bed like black snow. When she brushed it away, words were written on the wall in faint streaks. "Keeper without a name. A lock without a key. How long until you open?" Morales wanted to run. "We leave town. Burn every scrap of this place behind us. If there's no story left, maybe it can't follow." Denise disagreed. "It doesn't matter where we go. Maya carries it now. If it writes itself again, it'll use her." Maya sat silently between them, torn. She could feel the reflection watching from every piece of glass, every puddle, always smiling faintly. When she finally spoke, her voice was hollow. "Maybe I don't need to run. Maybe I need to finish what I started." Denise whispered. "What do you mean?" Maya turned toward the ruins of the library outside the window. "I killed my name, but if I can rewrite it, if I can become something else, maybe I can seal the gate forever." Morales frowned. "Rewrite yourself? How?" Maya's lips trembled. "By becoming the story that closes it." They returned to the ruins at night. The campus deserted. The library stood like a corpse, its shattered clock face staring blindly at the sky. Maya stepped into the atrium where it had all ended. The ash stirred faintly around her feet, rising as if waiting for her. She pulled a blank journal from her pack, the only clean pages she could find. Her hands shook as she opened it. Denise whispered, "What are you doing?" Maya dipped her finger into the ash, using it as ink. Slowly, she began to write. "My name is Maya Hernandez. I am the last keeper, and I choose to be the lock." The ash swirled violently, rushing into the journal. Words burning into the pages. The ground trembled. Morales reached for her. "Maya, stop." But the journal glowed, searing hot. The atrium filled with whispers, not from below, but from within the journal itself. Each word Maya wrote stitched the silence tighter, binding what had been left open. Her reflection appeared once more in the shattered glass, but now its smile faltered. She kept writing, her voice steady despite the pain burning in her fingers. "You won't use me. You won't use my name. I am the lock, and I close now." The reflection pounded on the glass, cracks spreading like spiderwebs. Its mouth screamed without sound. The journal's pages turned on their own, lines of ash script sealing themselves shut. The air grew heavy, crushing. Denise fell to her knees. Morales dragged her back, shielding her as the ruins shook. Maya pressed her final line into the page with blood from her palm. "The keeper ends with me." The journal slammed shut. Silence. The ash collapsed into the book, binding itself between its covers. The reflection shattered in every surface at once, glass raining down in shards. The fissure in the floor sealed completely, leaving only smooth concrete as though it had never been broken. Maya dropped to her knees. The journal clutched to her chest. Her breathing was ragged, her eyes vacant. Denise crawled to her side, sobbing, "Maya, please say something." Maya's lips parted, and for the first time in days, the sound of her name felt like it belonged to her. Maya Hernandez. Morales let out a long, broken laugh of relief. She's back. But the journal in her hand still pulsed faintly with heat, as though something inside stirred, waiting. In the weeks that followed, the campus reopened. A new library was promised. The ruins cordoned off with fences and warning signs. Students returned, gossiping about construction delays and accidents. No one remembered the chains, the keys, or the gate, but Maya did. She carried the journal everywhere. Its pages were blank to anyone else. But to her, each line burned with the weight of her choice. She was no longer just a librarian. She was the lock. Sometimes, late at night, she swore she heard faint clicks in her chest, like the echo of a gate testing its hinges. But when she opened the journal and read the words she had written, the sound always faded. Denise and Morales never left her side. They knew the truth. They knew she was both protector and prison now. And though the whispers had been silenced, the warning etched itself deep in her bones. Locks can hold, but no lock holds forever. Maya closed the journal and whispered to the empty air, steady and resolute. "Then let it try."